What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. And a big part of our awakening world is ever-increasing connection with our galactic family and impending government disclosure about what has been going on for decades. I've been in this field for a long, long time. As some of you know, way back in the 90s, I was producing all the UFO stories for the Paranormal Borderline, which was a primetime series. I was working on The Other Side for NBC, then hosting and producing the Strange Universe show. So I've been in this UFO thing for a long time, and we always were like, when's it going to be disclosure? Well, it's happening. It's really happening. And so tonight we are so fortunate because we have extraordinary guests to not only talk about what's happening in Congress, what's happening with government disclosure, but the bigger picture. What's going on spiritually? What's going on a cosmic level? And there's nobody that is more adept at sharing that than JJ and Desiree Hurtak, who are our featured guests, along with Steve Bassett. And every time Steve speaks, we listen. He really is one of the most grounded sources of information. And to open our hearts and give us the most beautiful way of how to have contact is the wonderful, beautiful John Martin, who's with us. And of course, all of these people are connected to my co-host, my good friend, the man who wrote the book on making contact, Alan Steinfeld.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, our beloved house musical artist, Omashar, will be providing 3 songs as well as witty commentary. And we also have a pre-recorded video with Danny Sheehan that we're going to hear. So it's going to be a dynamic show. We are going to have a Q&A roundtable. So after we kind of hear from all of our presenters, we want to take your questions, your thoughts, your comments. But I'm going to turn it over initially to Alan for whatever opening remarks you'd like to provide us with.
Well, this act of disclosure, it's not a fast race. It is a marathon. It is something that is slowly seeping into the public awareness. I think people have said, who really in the know, people like Eric Davis and others said, it's up to the phenomena itself. So that may be partly true. It's also up to us, the people's movement. It's up to people in Congress. There's so many different moving parts that Steve and the Hurtaks know so well. I've been looking at this, the event horizon, and say, when they show up, whenever they are, whoever they are, whenever that is, it changes everything. The pre-disclosure world is totally different than the post-disclosure world. And one thing that does, Scott, is we go from a chronological understanding of time as horizontal to a vertical understanding of time, which means the depth of history that's been going on for the human race is suddenly realized for what it is. It's like we've been kind of like playing along with this history, but if the UFO phenomenon is real, if these beings are interacting with human consciousness, they've been doing this for a long time. So the true history of who we are as a human race has really not been known. And that is what creates the vertical history that we'll be a part of in the post-disclosure world, because it's going to change, let's say, biology, technology. My favorite line is they're not filling up their gas tanks to get here. It's going to change our sociology. It's going to change our psychology. It's going to change our understanding of life as an emergent property of creation itself. That's something I talk about with JJ and Desiree all the time. So it is a big shift once it comes online in the public awareness, and people like Steve, myself, and the Hertugs are pushing that envelope, that rock up the hill, so public awareness is not totally taken by surprise, but it is the process of unfolding, and we are turning another corner with some of the information that Steve has and what JJ and Desiree are going. We've hit a little slump. It's like a wave. So we get a lot of excitement. Elizondo and those people come forward, and then there's a little time, and then it's a wave again. We're about to hit a new wave, it seems like, because of this little quiet period. But Burleson, these people in Congress, Anna Paulina Luna, these people are coming on behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to talk up what makes a difference. One more thing I want to say is when Anna Paulina Luna was on Joe Rogan, she talked about the interdimensionality of these beings. She said there are people she's interviewed privately in SCIF, in these special, congressional hearings, private, where they mentioned, it was a whistleblower, it sounded like, who said there's this interdimensionality to these ET beings, what the Hertugs call ultra-dimensional, ultra-terrestrial, ultra-celestial. I mean, so there's levels and a sophistication of awareness that we as the public are growing into. And I think that's what's needed as we prepare for full-on disclosure. How's that?
Beautiful. Boom.
Okay.
Well, to kind of prepare us and integrate all of this, we're going to go to our beloved house musical artist, the man who makes all things happen on this show, Mr. Omar Shah. Welcome, brother. A perfect background, as you do so well.
Indeed. And so welcome everybody who's watching on Facebook and YouTube and our broadcast partners. Always wonderful to feel you with us. And let's get this show on the road with The Shirt is the name of the first song. So here we go. Whoops, hang on a minute. Almost. It's on, this goes here. Aha! Gathered in this
fighting for will lift us all. So don't give up on walking tall. The time is now, so heed the call and wake up to the light of this new day. We are the heart of our world, the light in our world. We are the joy in our world, the love in our world. We are the heart of our world, the light in our world. We are the joy in our world, the love in our world.
Let's give a big twinkle and appreciation to beloved Omar Shar.
Thank you so much.
We are the light of the world.
We are the light of the world. There's going to be a premiere from Omar Shah in the center of this show, so that'll be cool.
Oh, that's good to know.
It is good to know.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And I want to acknowledge this is the last day of Interfaith Awareness Week. A big congratulations to Diara and Becky Suzik and all the people that were involved in that. And I know many of our Global Peace Tribers have been watching the Interfaith Awareness Week programs. So I just want to acknowledge that. And we're going to go right into our first presenter. And as I say, I've been in this UFO world for a long, long time. I've interviewed 8 former astronauts, 30 former military people, and I'm a snob when it comes to, people that I trust to provide information. And I'll let Alan do most of the introduction, but I just want to say I have tremendous respect for Steve Bassett. And when Alan and I talked about doing an update, and we both said we got to get Steve Bassett. So, Steve, thank you for being with us on Saturday night. And I'll let Alan continue to embarrass you with some accolades.
I'm not going to embarrass because Steve knows that his job is well cut out for him. He is passionate. He has not let go of that thread. Some people are in UFOs and they let it go and they come back to it. Steve is on the ground in Washington, following the latest developments day by day, sometimes hour by hour. He's at every congressional meeting that's open to the Congress. He is reporting back. He is passionate in a way. I mean, a lot of people love this subject. A lot of people see it as the game changer. Steve lives it. Steve lives the moment to moment movements of this most complex, amazing drama that's being played out in front of the human race. And he has his nose to the ground. He has the intelligence and the historical awareness to bring it all together. And he's going to update us on stuff I haven't heard. And if anyone knows what the unfolding of truth is in Washington, it's Steve Bassett. Thanks for being here, Steve. Unmute, because we don't want to miss a word.
Okay, you unmuted me? Good?
Yes.
Look, something very significant is happening, which I've finally come, I think, to understand. And I'm going to try to convey it as best I can in 20 minutes. First, and something I want to mention, what you're about to hear is nonpartisan. I know that there are people always looking for that little something where they go, if you think you found something, it's not really there. This is an absolute nonpartisan statement that I'm trying to make. In fact, this is the first time I'm actually going to put this statement out, this presentation out, but it's so important. I'm sending out a blast to all 300 of the podcast venues that I've done in the past. requesting that they try to start getting me on no later than about September 2 going forward. All right, September 10 rather going forward. So that'll be going out soon. Okay, what am I talking about? First of all, a quick update. September is going to be very big. The UAP Disclosure Act was submitted to the Senate. I don't think they voted, but they're going to vote. If not, they will vote as soon as they come back in September 2, 3. It will almost certainly pass. Then it's going to be submitted to the House. Only this time they're going with the approach of submitting it in whole and getting co-sponsors. And Representative Burleson has agreed to co-sponsor it. Maybe some others will join up. So it's a little different tack, but that's going to attract a lot of attention. There's almost certainly going to be a hearing in September. Burleson has made it clear that's what he wants. He is now essentially running the UAP portfolio of the task force. And very good guy, very authentic, very nice. I had a 5-hour dinner with him with some other people not too long ago. And I'm sure that he wants to do something significant here. I expect that to happen. I expect some additional witnesses to come forward. So September is going to be very significant on that basis alone. But something else is going on. How can I describe it? Right now, there are two huge issues, two huge problems that the government is facing. Enormous in different ways. One is facing essentially the Department of Defense and the military intelligence complex. All of that is that the policy of embargoing the truth about this non-human presence for 80 years is under relentless attack, and it is starting to yield. It's not clear if it's about to break. However, there's an inevitability about it, and I think they recognize that. And so they're staring down near term, midterm, whatever, the inevitability that this is going to end, the truth embargo is going to end, and they're going to have to deal with that, answer questions or whatever, hopefully in a responsible way. This, of course, is, in my view, the biggest issue in the world that needs to be resolved, and they are staring directly at it as it becomes increasingly impossible to overlook. Right now, it's no longer about whether the phenomenon is real. There's hardly anybody that's not saying that. The DOD is agreeing it's real. The Congress is agreeing it's real. Now it's about well, if it's real, what is it? Well, we know what it is. It's a technologically advanced non-human presence, which includes tech from pick one location or pick one source. But there's another major problem of a different type. And it is what I think is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the United States. It is the Epstein scandal. I spend a lot of time paying attention to this. In fact, that's all I do is pay attention to that and the ET issue and the rest of the politics going on. And the articles are pouring forward. Investigative reporters from different publications, Daily Beast, Counterpunch, and others are coming out with new material, which is starting to demonstrate how vast this is. It takes in banks, high-level financiers, billionaires, and of course, a lot of other famous people. And it has been, how would you say, percolating for a very long time, like a volcano that occasionally throws a little, ash up into the air, a little smoke, maybe a bit of lava, and then one day the thing just erupts. Well, this thing is about to erupt, and it's going to be a Mount St. Helens. And here is the problem. We reached a point where the President of the United States, who clearly is involved in this in various ways, is staring down a situation which now simply cannot be dismissed or made to go away. It's not possible to go over it or under it or around it, and it's certainly not possible to make it disappear. It is going to happen. And then the president and many, many others are going to have to deal with it. And let me tell you, this is going to be something. All right. So you've got two huge issues, both of which are being stared down by two parts of our government, the executive branch and the military intelligence complex. And that's interesting and important, except that I believe they have just become connected. And that's where things get really interesting. What am I getting at? When you are facing something extremely controversial and potentially damaging, something awful, and you can't get around it or over it or under it, you simply can't run from it, then you only have one option left, and that is to distract from it, divert from it, and mitigate it. Now, what do I mean by that? Something that is able to draw attention away from it in a very substantial way, and something that would also mitigate the negatives and the outcome of it that is expected. That is the only option left. All right. And so, with respect to the administration, there has been already article after article about the fact that the White House, the administration, is looking for a distraction. And everything that happens, whether it's the summit in Alaska or whatever else turns up, it's viewed as a distraction. They're trying to distract away from this inevitable dilemma that is heading for them like a freight train. These distractions are nothing, absolutely nothing. The only distraction that would measure up to what I'm talking about, I mean, a diversion rather, and distraction would be a nuclear war. That would do the trick. But of course, we don't want that. And so they have got to come up with something that will distract and divert. It's not going to make it go away, but it will buy time. It will give them opportunity to, I guess, try to find ways to mitigate the outcome. And if the action that is takes place is extremely positive, then obviously that will seriously help mitigate the dilemma that they face, that they cannot get away from. And so here is what is finally taking me to the place that I'm going to describe to you right now. The first clue was 6 months ago, 7 months ago, when 5 days before the inauguration of the president, the son of the president, who has a podcast, who doesn't now, called Triggered, of all people, brought on Ross Coulthart and Lou Elizondo to talk about ET, UAP, whatever, disclosure, for 2 hours. That's not an accident. It's not like, oh, gee, I just need some guests. Let me get these guys. My father's going to be inaugurated in 5 days, but, no problem. Not a chance in hell. That was deliberate. It was an attempt to bring the issue out in a soft way at a podcast, fairly safe, before the president even takes office again, to get a test, to read the room, to see how people would react to it. How would it go down, right? It went down fine. No problem. Positive, no blowback, nothing. All good. Fine. And then the president took office. And then over the next 7 months, the president has had to deal with a lot of stuff and has done a lot of stuff. And so we are going through one of the most complicated, difficult times in American history, right? Which has made it a little more difficult to kind of sort things out, no matter what you're talking about. But as time has gone forward, this issue has continued to advance, no matter what has been going on, no matter how much attention it's demanding from the media, this issue is always there and always moving forward. Okay, fine. And I'm wondering, okay, what's going to happen here? And then 12, 14 days ago, it started to happen. All right. Very simple. And again, this has never happened before, period. All right. Out of nowhere, the vice president goes on a podcast. Remember, soft outlet. It's not official. It's kind of safe, just like the Triggered podcast that Don Jr. did. And what does the sitting vice president say? He's obsessed with UFOs. He allows the topic to come up and says that and a number of other things. That immediately generates a whole bunch of articles. I've got 60 up there on my website right now in the print media archive. Go read them all, right? And that's paradigmresearchgroup.org. And I'm going, well, that's really interesting. All right. That's no accident. A vice president doesn't go on a podcast and decide, I think I'll talk about ETs, in fact, or UFOs or UAP. In fact, I think I'll mention that I'm obsessed with it. No. 3 days later, the director of national intelligence, which is a pretty important office, Tulsi Gabbard. She goes on a podcast. Not particularly well known as far as I know, but whatever, it's a podcast. And she allows the subject to come up. And she mentions that, she's interested in that and this and what have you, but clearly makes it clear that she can talk about that. Fine. 5 or 6 days later, we go to what I consider the penultimate event. The chairman of the UAP task force, not the UAP, the Secrets Task Force of the House Oversight Committee, who is all over the news, who was tasked initially, or has been tasked, to go after some of the most important and controversial issues of our time, the JFK assassination, lots of documents coming out, MLK assassination, things are in the works, also RFK, and also the Epstein files. Quite a, how would you say, a work list, to say the least. So much so that she had to essentially offload or give the UAP portfolio to one of the Secrets Task Force members, and that's Burleson. And by the way, they also hired Grush, so that's not that big a deal. So that's happening. That's fairly significant. She goes on Rogan, the podcast that played a significant role in electing her boss, well, not her boss, rather, but her president, and gave an interview for 2 hours that will ultimately be seen by 20 million people, easy. And what does she do? She talks about the issues of getting witnesses and this and that and the hearings and so forth. And she gets asked questions and start to discuss the things that she has seen. Whether she was really supposed to say anything in certain areas remains to be seen. I don't care. But in answering these questions, she says, I have seen this document, I have seen this, I have seen that, and these have shown me, and she's asked directly on this, that we have non-humans here, meaning technically advanced non-humans, and we have the non-human craft, exactly what Grush said. Now, it doesn't matter where they're from. She goes even further and gives her view that her sense from what she's told is they're interdimensional. Look, Anna Paulina Luna is not a physicist. And so she's hearing things and she's trying to assess it. And so she's leaning toward interdimensional source. Does that mean that's where they're from? No, not necessarily. I'm inclined to go another way. It doesn't matter. The point is that she is saying this on Rogan's podcast. It is now going all over the world. There is no way that Anna Paulina Luna goes on that podcast simply because she just feels like talking about the work she's doing and allowing the ET issue to come out and talk about there is, in fact, a non-human presence. That is not an accident. And when you put all of that together, those 3 occurrences in just 13 days, go read all the articles. They'll confirm everything I've just told you. Combine that with the podcast just before the inauguration, and this is what I see happening. In order to deal with the unbelievable scandal that is coming, that is going to affect a lot of people in a very bad way, right? I think a decision has been made that this is the issue that is going to be used as the diversion and mitigator in this matter, and that he is being set up to tell us that we are not alone, wherever the hell they're from. In other words, capital D disclosure, as I define it. If the president comes out and says that it is true, we do have these visitors from somewhere, they're not human, that is disclosure right then. Capital D disclosure. Now, that doesn't mean everything is coming out. It doesn't mean that you're going to hear this or that or anything else. It just means that we crossed that line. And that from that point forward, things are going to change. Information is going to come out rapidly. You're going to have a UAP Disclosure Act. You're going to have more hearings and witnesses who are going to be much more willing to come forward. And then you're going to have other heads of state confirm it. Now, you may say, what's the benefit here? Oh, what is the benefit? Let's be clear. If the the president already has a platform in which to walk out and do this. He's had it for some time. It's been built over the last 7 years with legislation and hearings and massive media coverage and witnesses coming forward. There's more than enough platform. If he walks out tomorrow and does it, people go like, hey, yeah, that's cool. Makes sense to me, Mr. President. But not quite there yet. What is happening now is they're building the stairs that he can walk up and do it. They're giving him the basis for why he needs to go out and do it. And this is what will happen if he does. In that moment, he becomes the disclosure president. 13 other presidents had the opportunity to do this. They chose not to. And they all knew they had that opportunity. I can assure you, it doesn't matter to how much they knew about the overall history and subject matter. They all knew they could do it. They chose not to do it. But he does it. And he is the disclosure president. He has just triggered the most profound event in human history. And he will be backed up by other heads of state very quickly. And let us just use common sense here. And the aftermath of that announcement, the Jeffrey Epstein thing is going to be moved over here, and the world is going to be utterly focused, and not just the American people, the entire world is going to be focused on what happens next. And as other heads of state come forward, it'll just expand the interest. It will be overwhelming. Now, is the Epstein scandal going to just be gone? No, it's going to be put over here. And we'll move into the post-disclosure world. Will he get a Nobel? Yeah, this is a Nobel. It's a lock guaranteed Nobel Prize for real, right? Wow, that helps. But the Epstein scandal is not going away, and it will eventually erupt, and it will be awful. And there's going to be a lot of tough stuff to deal with. There's going to be a lot of unpleasantness. However, no matter how bad it is for any of the members of the administration, and I'm just talking there, I don't know about the financiers and the bankers and some other people, they're screwed. But in terms of the government, people are going to be going, look, that's awful. That's bad. We're not happy about that. But boy, are we happy about what you just did. That you have ended this 80-year lie and taken us into another world. And by God, we really appreciate that. That is what I mean by mitigation. It mitigates the situation. And it results in probably a very different near future for the president. Now, how that plays out, I do not know. I know the scandal is incredibly bad. How bad is still not clear. But whatever, it will be better. It will not make it go away, but it will put the president and anybody else directly connected to the president and into this scandal in a place where people are going to be far more generous about how they respond and their willingness to forgive. And that is as big as it gets. And so I think that is exactly what is going down. It is the only way that explains the statements from Donald Trump Jr., Gabbard, Luna, Vance. I am waiting very, very intensely to see which other member, high-level member of this administration does another podcast. In other words, they've had 4 podcasts to safely read the public's reaction. And it has been all positive. The press is positive. Everybody thinks it's great. And you want to talk about some other stuff that's going on? Not so much. So this is not a difficult equation to solve. If anybody is advising the president, and I think they are, they should be asking, you need to do this. This is the one thing you can do that will change everything and make whatever time you have left in office entirely different matter. And whatever goes down politically, you will always have this. You will always have that legacy. You will always be the disclosure president. And that's a little bit long, but that's the message that I'm going to be conveying. And I'm inviting everybody to now start looking at everything that's happening, particularly with any members of the administration, and listen carefully to what they're saying. And if somebody's going to turn up on a podcast, watch it, because I don't think this is over. I think you're going to see a few more people come forward to help set the stage. And it would be fast. It would happen so quickly. A number of press, just top press, not just a general press conference, 8, 9, 10 of the top news entities out there would be asked to come in special press conference. Tight, president walks out, stands in front of them, makes the confirmation, thanks them for coming, does not take questions. Why? You don't take questions after an announcement like that. There are 10 million questions that could be asked. The president is not sitting with a vast amount of knowledge that he can sort of respond. So you don't subject yourself to that. You simply say, fine. Of course, all hell breaks loose. They go back, the story breaks, but the president or somebody spokesperson would say, look, in about 5 or 6 days, we're going to hold another press conference. We're going to have 15, 20 top experts related to every aspect of this available for you to ask questions of, right? And they can come in and they will answer the millions of questions that are in the minds of every journalist out there and the American people and the world's people, and take us even deeper into the post-disclosure world. That's my call. We'll see what happens.
Well, that is great.
I've got a couple of questions I got to ask. First off, how do you think they will frame it? Will they frame it as the extraterrestrial influence is a threat? Or do you think that they will frame it as we're still gathering information? So that's question number one. And then second question is, there are rumors swirling that a lot of powerful people want Trump out and JD Vance to come in. And I don't know, you're in Washington, you know much more. Is there anything to that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
And that's partisan stuff in a sense, internal battles, doesn't matter. But to answer your first question, if I'm the advisor to the president, you just go out and you confirm, like Luna did on Rogan, but with a much bigger audience. Yeah, we have non-human bodies. We have non-human built technology. We might have actually non-humans, whatever. And you want to know more, I'm confirming it. And now you'll get a chance to ask some experts those questions later. Now, how those experts, which include scientists and military and a whole range of people, if they're smart, how they're going to cast it, I don't know. But one thing I do know is that the number of people that will be watching that press conference will be in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Number of influencers and podcasters in the tens of thousands. And that if they want to play games with it, they're going to have to answer to the internet, right? So my suggestion would be play it absolutely straight. Don't try to pull any fast ones, because the world is going to be, well, you're going to be facing the biggest audience you'll ever see in your lifetime, and they expect the truth and nothing but the truth. So hopefully that's what we'll get.
Okay, so Steve, thank you. I love your passion. You're always coming up with the next disclosure president, and maybe you're right this time because you've been on this, and I think we're close. First of all, though, Trump has not been so excited about the topic personally. He just had an opportunity to comment on the drones. He said, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Don't worry. Don't think about it. He got it under control. See, he shies away from the top. His son doesn't, but he does. Also, is he, let's just say, maybe smart enough or aware enough to know how valuable this subject is to his clearing the decks on all the other stuff he's involved in?
But the president, there's no upside for the president to say anything enthusiastic. The president's going to keep his distance. He hasn't come out and said this whole thing is nonsense. No, but he's not going to get into it. He's letting his son get into it. He's letting Vance get into it. In other words, what I say by building a platform, what they're doing is they're feeling out what the public's response will be. They're trying to read the room. And they're getting nothing but pretty much positives here. Nothing but positives. And the Rogan thing is the ultimate. This is the guy that helped get him elected. Now he is just the guy that has taken the core message from Anna Paulina Luna to the world. Now, think about it. Do you think that Donald Trump, if he really doesn't want to touch this, is going to is going to not at least make an effort to prevent her from going on Rogan and saying that? You think that all of this has come sort of a random thing? It isn't. It is completely orchestrated. And we've known for some time that he's gotten some briefings. That has happened. How extensive they were doesn't matter. He's gotten some briefings. That's been mentioned going back even to his first term. So it's been bubbling behind the surface. It's there, but he has a lot of things on his plate. But what he hasn't had is a powerful motivation to turn to this issue. He has these other issues that he's very much involved. Now he has that motivation. The Epstein scandal does not leave any room but distraction.
It's an epic moment in history. We'll see. I think if this scenario plays out, we're probably months or weeks away from this. One more question I have for you, and maybe I could save it for the Hertogs. In the UAP amendment that's going through the NDAA, there's something called eminent domain, where the government has a right to go in and confiscate any material from private industry or individuals related to the UFO UAP phenomena. Is that something private industry is easily going to give up? I mean, there's obviously they have it, they have this material in their reverse engineer. Are they really going to come forward and say, yeah, we got it, we're going to give it to you? Or are they going to deny, which is what they've been doing?
Well, again, you gotta think in terms of disclosure. If the president comes out, confirms the presence of this non-human stuff, all the stuff we've been hearing about, basically saying it's true, and there's the huge majority, 90% plus of everything that's been learned through the research of the citizens over these last 80 years is true. Okay, and once he does that, then hey, the Congress can debate eminent domain until hell freezes. I don't care. They may get it, they may not get it. What difference does it make? Okay. The reason that they fought back before is because we had no disclosure. And the basic of the position of the government, including even AARO, was that no, there's really not here yet. We don't know what it is, but it's not real. And so yeah, they push back. Disclosure ends all of that. Right? You want to play games, you're gonna have to play it in the open with cameras watching. And so if you really have a problem with the eminent domain, you're gonna come out and say, yeah, we would not want that. Let's talk about it. Now, of course, they're going to have to admit they've had it all along. That's no problem. They didn't break the laws. Yeah, we did a lot of research. We did a lot of re-engineering. Yeah, we expect something from it, and we don't like eminent domain. Let's talk about it. That's the way it should be. Instead of having all of the expenditures, monies, and policies and everything else going on, a vast history and costing huge amounts of money, and telling the world's people and the United States people, there's nothing there. There's nothing going on. We're not doing anything. That's obscene, and it's undermining the social contract. Disclosure ends all of that, and we start dealing with the issue. Doesn't mean it all going to be easy. It's not going to be controversial, but we start dealing with the issue like adults. And the American people are considered adults in this case, in this instance, and they're going to be able to participate in what goes forward. That's the way it always should have been, and hopefully it now can be, because we're running out of time. And running out of time, Alan. Yeah, one last thing. if Jeffrey Epstein brings about disclosure in this crazy way, what can I say, man? History is crazy and wild, and you go with the flow and hope for the best.
Well, thank you, Steve. Hang in there.
Yeah, and he's not going away. We're going to have a whole roundtable conversation. But I'm going to bring up, while Steve is still with us on camera, I'm going to bring in JJ and Desiree, two of our absolute favorite guests who've been on this show over and over for many years. And let's just start with, what's your response to what you just heard from Steve?
Well, we agree with Steve. We do feel that the next president, and that happens to be Trump, probably will be the disclosure president. If anything shifts or something, but the next one, because it's just, as you said, Steve, timing is moving us in that direction for many reasons. I mean, you gave the Epstein thing, but there's also a lot of sightings, there's environmental things.
And also the sociological dilemma of the man in the White House. Steve, you did a superb capsulization of the givens, that we've had always the tug of war between the different political factions, but they've all been involved in what we will call the downside of public affairs. And now when the house cleaning is taking place, everyone's going to look to a story that's going to be on the horizon. Hopefully it will be what we had just heard from you, a real authentic story of we're not alone. We've got some cleanup to do, but more importantly, we've got a policy to put into effect of bringing people and nation states together.
But I have to say that Kennedy, Carter, Clinton, all three of them. And I also had heard, as you had indicated, that Trump was talking about what can we say in 4 years ago or 5 years ago, we could say, about this, that he is aware of it. It's just, when does this get released? And he's not the one, I think that's what you were saying in a certain sense to Alan. He's not the only one to release that. We do have some things we want to
take
share.
it from the top.
Well, let's go. We'll come back with the roundtable and then we'll do more questions. I think we'll take questions from the
Should I
audience.
do a quick introduction if people don't know you, or
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
just a quick one that doctors JJ and Desiree Hertog are they look at anthropological studies. They are scientists. They're part of the Mars Society. They've been involved in the UFO disclosure movement. They are actually written a chapter in my book about ultra-terrestrials, extraterrestrials, extracelestials, different types of beings that they have interfaced with, they're aware of, and they take, well, Steve is a very linear, practical, concrete guy. JJ and Desiree take a more spiritual, broader approach to the phenomena, bringing in that understanding of interdimensionality that Anna Paulina Luna mentioned. So, okay, go for it, guys, because
Okay, we're going to actually show, let's see, share our screen, hopefully.
So we're at a beginning of a whole new direction
Let's hope it works.
with the understanding of UAPs, national security and innovation behind the scenes, as you can see at the top left.
Right. So just to give you a history here is that for this year, 2025, and there is so much that's going on, and Steve is part of it. Danny Sheehan is part of it. Alan has even been part of it, as you'll see. So let's take just this year, May 1st, 2025, there was a kind of science, national security, innovation. And you see here in the audience, or in the panel, I should say, Avi Loeb, he's from Harvard, retired Admiral Gallaudet, Eric Davis, who is the one who talked, as you'll see on the right side of the screen, about 4 types of aliens, from the Greys, the Nordics, the reptilians, and the insectoids. Representative Luna, we're going to be focusing on her. You can see her picture in the upper. That's if you want to see the Joe Rogan experience we've been talking about. You can see the number. It's up there. It's only 3 days old from today. Representative Burleson, he's sitting in the row. We're going backwards here towards the right. And Representative Burchett. There's also in the audience Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo. So you can have the link down there, the UAP Disclosure Fund and the events. I highly recommend you see that.
But what is important from our position is that 30 years before, 1995, Washington, D.C., there was a disclosure on a very high level. It was Dr. Scott Jones working with Senator Claiborne Pell, working with the Rockefellers, also working with Bruce McAmey with Naval Intelligence, that convened a group of experts. We, with John Mack, were the experts called to form, and I actually presented documentation of the 4 categories that Eric Davis spoke about on May 1st. And that film is available on the internet. If you go to the proceedings for the Cosmic Cultures Meet conference in May of 1995, you will see me diagramming the faces of 4 different species, one of which worked side by side one of the famous scientists at Los Alamos in Mexico. So we're seeing a repetition of history, but this time you have more of the people of importance involved, more of the journalists of importance involved, more of the headliners involved. But essentially, the track record is very clear. The government has known about this for many decades, that we have visitors, not only one group, but at least 4 groups. And MUFON studies suggest that there are at least 14 major groups participating in some type of educational, environmental, in a biological study of the human race.
Right, and just one other video, which just happened on August 4th. So again, both Anna Paulina with Rogan and this were all just in August. I think there is this building of energy, as Stephen was mentioning. So it says, I asked a U.S. congressman if aliens are real, and it's called The Endless Void with Kristen Fisher, and she's talking directly to Representative Burleson. So that's a very interesting thing. She's mentions the 4 types of ETs. It's the first time really some, we'll say, set in this case, representatives have agreed on that. Let's go on to just some things everyone should already know about. Was back in July 26, 2023, was really the first House of Representatives public hearing on UAPs, which had Ryan Graves. He was a Navy pilot that had seen and reported, as well as written down many of the other people's reports, David Grush, and also Captain Favor. So that's a very quick thing.
So this is the beginning of what I will call critical mass.
And then, Alan, you want to say something about this? I know you're on board here.
Alert.
Yes, that was exciting. You can't see me, but I'm sitting right behind Danny Sheehan. And to be a part of history in that congressional room was like something everyone wants to do. You know, it's like, this is when they tested, yes, UFOs are real. They're here. Schallenberg was there, one of the reporters who brought forth the immaculate, what was it? Constellation. Gallaudet, an Army, Navy admiral, was saying, yes, these are things are real. So this is a slow buildup. And like Steve is saying, it's we didn't say it, but a snowball is picking up speed, rolling down that hill. That's what I got from what Steve's saying. And we're about to cross the finish line, perhaps.
Right. And so this was November of 2024. So almost like, not even a whole year ago. Alan was right there. He did a whole watch party, which you can still see, I believe, on his YouTube. But what really got me was not how great Elizondo is, and I think he's great. Gallaudet has some great things too. But the questions that Representative Luna, the person who went on the Joe Rogan show just 3 days ago from Florida, she's actually from Clearwater, Florida, asked about. And I'm just going to read these questions, and then especially in the talk, we can roundtable, we can talk more about it. So her first question, they only had 5 minutes. Can you name the country and around time frame where the first back-engineered UAP program started?
No answer from the panel, but I can tell you, having worked in the German archives, the Germans were doing this in the 1930s.
Wow.
To your knowledge, have any USOs, right, submerged? And this is something that Dolan talks about, has a book or coming out or has come out, ever outpaced our submarines. Now, if you listen to this, and everyone can go listen to these things for free on YouTube, you just have to go to UAP hearings and pick your, 2023 or 2024. Retired Admiral Gallaudet says yes. He said back in the 80s that there was a report that something was underwater that went, far outpaced our submarines. So
I can augment that by saying that in the 1960s, I talked to a leading admiral who told me that the American and the Soviet Navy were outmaneuvered by unidentified subcraft.
So 3, are you aware of any hotspots that currently exist off the shores in North America? We've heard reports of there potentially being hotspots, maybe entry and exit points. Have you heard of any of that? Well, she's from Florida. I'm originally from Florida. I saw a UFO when I was like 15 years old. There were so many sightings off the coast of Florida, and still until recent times, with the exception of something around New Mexico, California and Florida, and these are, of course, would be subterranean bases, were the most frequently sightings of UFOs.
And I can say also, through my research, hotspots are off of San Diego, California. We actually have film of this, which is available. So there were several hotspots, both on the East as well as the West Coast.
Yeah, and there's no doubt when I grew up, people were already talking about the fact that there was UFO bases off the coast in the Bermuda Triangle, let's call it that.
Question number 4.
In regards to these aircraft being piloted by, remember, this is her, a young girl, she's not that old, talking, by whatever they may be, non-human biologics. So these are what she calls those who are piloting these craft. Would you agree that it's likely they are being piloted by some mind-body connection? And the answer by Elizondo at that point is yes. They seem to sometimes, she's gotten reports that they even stalked people. Because, Alan, can you explain that a little bit? I think you understand what we're saying here.
Yeah, there is some talk that the ETs themselves are driving these craft with their minds. So there is this mind dynamics within the technology. Jacques Vallée also says maybe there really is no separation between consciousness and technology. So this is our future. There is also a lot of psychic activity, telepathic activity involved in the UFO phenomena. So they are able to access consciousness in a way that is directly connected to their what we're calling technology, but it might not actually be technology. It might be an aspect of consciousness.
I'm telling you to share about that.
Yeah.
When I was producing for Strange Universe, our very first show, the big, kick it off that we did, was I did an interview with Frank Kaufman, who was the head of the CIC stationed in Roswell. The CIC was the forerunner to the CIA. He was stationed in Roswell because they needed to ferret out Russian spies, because, of course, Roswell was where the 509th Atomic Bomb Squadron was, at the time the only atomic bomb squadron in the world. When the crash went down in Roswell, Frank was one of the people who was actually on the scene. And when he was on our show doing the interview, he was dying of cancer. He kind of was coming clean. It was quite a powerful interview. He said that he actually went inside the downed craft, and there was nothing other than a place where clearly the ETs that had 6 fingers could put their hands. There's nothing other than just where they would place their hands and become one with the ship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Well, also,
what it means.
I think that's how C5s work as well. They're picking up on your thoughts. Alan has been with us. We've done a few of those. And also, they know when people are open. They know when people are closed. They pick up on certain types of thoughts coming out. So all of this is very true. And that's why, the whole remote viewing situation is just expanded by their abilities for telepathy. So number 5, she also, this is continuing her question.
Number 6.
Or no, 5. In our previous panel, we had David, I put that in Grush, and he had testified to say that some of these are interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that? She's asking. She talks about it more on Joe Rogan than any of the men sitting in front there, and that again is the Admiral Elizondo, also the guy who did Schellenberger, and
Michael from NASA.
Yeah, and he didn't have much to say at all. But anyway, now the last one, which I think many people never heard, but it's very, very, very profound.
Do you come across reports that people who claim to have firsthand experiences with these entities, whatever they may be, or these aircraft, and then as a result, whether or not they are religious, find that these things automatically disappear? What a profound question. So it's suggesting a spiritual link is a type of protection or shield or a type of media exposure. And my work with indigenous elders throughout the world has shown that most of the top shamans have had these interdimensional experiences.
Yes, and we do believe, there are vehicles that come because you are spiritual. There are also vehicles that come because they want to abduct you. So we feel that what's up there in outer space is pretty much equivalent to what's down here. You got the really great guys, you have the really crappy guys, and everyone else is just hanging around. But there's some good guys, like we believe this is Popocatépetl volcano, 25 miles west of Puebla, 54 miles southeast of Mexico City. You got a population of 9 million people. They are constantly, and Jaime Maussan, our good friend, is always photographing them. He thinks it's a base. They said, hell no, they're just trying to protect the people around there and trying to neutralize this volcano, because if this volcano went off, and it has already erupted as we see here.
And Jaime Maussan is the leading journalist of Latin America. I had the privilege of training him back in the late 70s, early 80s. And he's now the authority not only of Mexico contact areas, but hotspots throughout Latin America.
So these are the good guys. And I think that even maybe some of the stuff from the Tic Tac off the coast of California for your California people was a protection. Maybe they were trying to neutralize some of the buildup of the fault line that kind of begins down there, although then hits into Los Angeles and further north. So one of the other situations that we want to talk with you, Scott, in the future, of course, we talked about this, is what Dr. Gary Nolan, who's a professor of biology at Stanford, microbiology and immunology, I was supposed to say at Stanford. I don't know how he got Baxter Lab, and a member of the Stanford University. He says that the DNA and its structure of life are 9 billion years old, and the Earth is only 4 billion years. Now, Dr. Hurtak, in his book, The Keys of Enoch, says we have that higher code structure, which is something that even some aliens even, want in a certain sense.
So in my contact experience, I was shown the human genome, how it was connected with a higher sense of vibratory linguistics. We're not only in the universe, we have cosmic cousins that share the same genome, but there are variants. And this has been the problem because we recognize other life forms, insectoid, whatever, are grotesque in terms of our aesthetics. And this is one of the reasons I believe the governments of the world, not only the United States, but Russia, et cetera, have held back information. They don't want to scare their respective populations. So there's a whole story to the genetic code. Greg Braden has taken advantage of work that Desiree and I have done. But nonetheless, Ramon Zeit, a German research team, have published my work. It's out there on the internet. We're at a momentous time of recognizing the biological linkages that go with the psychological linkages that go with the cosmological linkages, which means there's a big story, and very few scientists and journalists want to touch a big story because it requires a massive background of energy.
So we call ourselves the Adamic species, but others can call us Nordics because it's similar code structures. We exist obviously on Earth, but we also feel we exist on Arcturus, Metone, Pleiades, Orion, other places. And I think some of you know about this book, The Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. Dr. Hurtak's mentioned in there talking about the star Arcturus, but it points out about 82 different races, some of which was derived from MUFON files.
Well, the MUFON files are very sketchy in some areas of making these claims. Nonetheless, I repeat, there are 14 categories that are known by members in the intelligence community and other countries that collaborate with us, the fact that this is a big story than simply a president saying we're not alone. Big deal. We need to follow up sociology and psychology because some of these life forms are grotesque, as we see here in the Pascagoula, Mississippi event.
Right. So we knew J. Allen Hynek quite well. And when he came back from investigating in 1973, the Pascagoula event, he said it's like a robot intelligence. So we do think, not all, as we're saying, but some are actually robotic intelligences. I think, just for all the people who are talking about AIs, they also exist from other civilizations as well. In fact, Whitley Strieber has a great concept that they make robots, but not for just robotic walking around. They actually can project their consciousness. These aliens can project their consciousness into their gray robots.
And Netflix has a special documentary on this connected with our work in Dr. Hynek.
Yes. So, Alan?
Actually, I have a couple questions for you guys.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just turn off the screen because I want people to see you as we talk. I'd love for JJ to share about his experience because we're all excited about disclosure, but JJ has actually had an interdimensional experience early in his life. So I think that's something important to talk about. And I also would love to get your feedback on, we're all talking about like what the government's going to share. What do you think? Where do we stand with what all these different species are wanting? Are they pushing disclosure? Is a good question that came in from Dr. Laura. How are the ETs pushing for disclosure? What's, as best as you can tell, what do they want at this time with the human species?
Well, thank you. I just want to minimize my discussion on this because it's requiring a fair amount of time to compress a consciousness cosmology that links all of the sciences, but all the sciences are going to go together into a quantum change. My book, The Keys of Enoch, Desiree's holding up there, shows the hands on the cover because the hands represent the salutation of the Adamic brotherhoods that share the same physiology. The hands placed upon the vehicles of some categories will open the doors or the energy form of the vehicle for actual participation.
Right. So actually, it's interesting that on the Rogan show, Anna Paulina talks about the ancient book of Enoch, but Dr. Hurtak's experience in 1973 was where Enoch himself, thank you, Enoch himself actually appeared to Dr. Hurtak in his room, and Dr. Hurtak was asked if
Interdimensional experience.
and he was asked if he was ready. He said he was, which means it wasn't an abduction, who they just take you anyway. And then he went into these higher realms, various frequency realms, until he saw like a type of, Christ image, and got the information that he put out in the book. So let's leave it at that for those of you.
The information was very advanced. It's taken 50 years to look at all of these areas of the hotspots, the genetic code, the language symbolism that one finds even in the Spielberg account of the hands, the symbols. All of this requires a new sociology, which is what we're all about, because our organization is called the Academy for Future Science, Science Guided by Consciousness. Consciousness links all of the disciplines, both scientific and spiritual, together. Without consciousness, we're not going to go ahead. We're just going to have bits and pieces of the same old game, of the same old players, giving us the same old, shall we say, mischief. So we're at a time, it's going to take a lot of passion to make a difference, of people out there throughout the world, covering the whole spectrum, that will put a new twist of hope, generosity, and courage on the front lines. And I want to thank Steve and Alan and all of you for
Scott, yeah,
for laying the foundation for honest dialogue.
So just a few other points you asked about, where's the aliens in all of this? Interesting enough, there was a general in the space program in Israel. I know Israel's not your most popular place now. And this is 5 years ago, Chaim Eshed, he came out and said, that we actually are taking people even to Mars. And he said that Trump wanted to say more. I mean, this is what he said. It's not what I'm saying. Trump wanted to say more about contact back 5 years ago, and the aliens told him humanity is not ready. So the big question is, why don't they just land on the White House lawn? And let's get into that in the roundtable. I just want to finish a couple little points if we can, and then because we're almost finished. And I was right at Alan for this thing because that's his book.
Oh,
once you
right.
UFO or UAP, you are quantumly entangled with that intelligence. What's that mean, Alan?
Well, it means there are no innocent bystanders. I mean, Steve may, he was picked for this job for his passion. We were all, in a sense, chosen because we've come here to deliver a bigger message. And if you've seen a UFO, it wasn't by accident. We are all part of this phenomenon. We're all part of a greater cosmic consciousness. And some people don't know that, and other people are waking up to it. But that's one thing I will talk about or ask about on the panel, how this changes everything. So it is a sea change of humanity. So go ahead, Desiree.
Just a few more slides, really. I think 2 or 3 more slides. So the other points are, this isn't new. We were just listening to something from astronaut Mitchell, and he said the same thing. He's talking about the contemporary stuff. He goes, but now you have to go back and realize
the longest unbroken history is that from India. Tremendous sutra texts in Sanskrit tell us the story. We will call it the cosmic dialectic between those Indo-European peoples and those of the Orient. They have to work with interdimensional life forms or entities. They're on the left that represent those who would like to inhibit the experience of the human consciousness.
Right. This is called the Sea of Milk. And of course, then the last thing to really show is Interstellar, the idea of dimensions, that if you remember the movie, someone was in the 5th dimension, or the astronaut went into the 5th dimension, was able to tell his daughter how to save the planet. We also think that is going on.
But also, the work of our colleague, astronaut Mitchell in outer space, and his work sending mental signals back to Ingo Swann and others on Mother Earth, that shows that interdimensional communication is possible. And that was part of the story the space program did not bring out. So there's a lot of the space program that will explain where all of the trillions of dollars have gone.
So we just want to say that we are doing a 7-week course with the Shift Network. It's a little pricey. Alan's also doing a new course. He's just finishing up one on remote viewing, and they've been really popular. So in terms of our course, you can find out more about it either at Shift Network or through keysofenoch.org. That's our main.
It just began, and you'll see pictures there that you'll not see other place.
You can still sign up for the Hertux course because it's only in its first or second week and you can catch up, but it's really a fantastic overview. So
Yeah.
I recommend it.
All right.
So again, all things Hertux can be found on their extraordinary website. There's so much on this website to really just spend an hour. It's the Smithsonian Institute of websites, and it's Keys of Enoch, ENOCH.org. And I really encourage you, spend some time there. And it's very exciting that what you're doing with the Shift Network. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that after the roundtable. Here's what I want to do. I think because this is so alive, we're going to push the prayer and that a little bit aside. We're going to go to the roundtable in a moment, but just to integrate all of this, and then we'll go into the roundtable. But to integrate it, let's go to our beloved house musical artist, Omar Shar, who actually has a very exciting announcement to make. And then
Well, actually, I was just remembering that the first time I got my hands on the Keys of Enoch was in 1992, and I cannot say that I've actually read it from end to end without going a little bit cross-eyed, and because I realized that it's a transmission that I need to feel. And Dr. JJ was just talking about how it's taken 50 years to kind of unravel it, which is what I heard, and I get it now, because it's only as my consciousness expands and raises and I come deeper into myself that I can actually see what is written there. And so thank you for that. And I've had it for all that time. And so anyway, the song now is called I Am You. It's a premiere. I spent about 50 hours recording this song, 4.5 minute song. Can you believe 50 hours? But that's what happens in the studio. And so this is a premiere, and I'm going to drop a free download link into the chat box here for all our Zoom roomers of a full quality WAV version of it as a gift to myself. And afterwards, I'm going to pop up a QR code so all those who are watching on our streaming partners can get it. It'll expire in 2 days. It's one of those disappearing things. So anyway, I'm going to change on mic source and we shall get on with it. And of course, I am you. Though it seems we come from different skies. And so one moment, please.
And we're not going to spotlight people dancing, because I want to encourage everybody just to drop into the lyrics of the song and the beauty of the song. So we're going to keep the focus on Omar Shar this time.
Yay. Cool. All right. Woo-hoo. Are we ready? Are we ready? Hang on a minute. Just going to make sure we're ready. We are ready. What is true is the love that shines right through your eyes. Yes, we are here and now, and it's time to leave the past behind. So take me by the hand, let us walk across this sacred land. I am you, though we seem to come from different skies. What is true
I'll sail away with you across the universe. We'll fly on eagle's wings, and you know we'll cry with gratitude. Remember, you're always divinely connected. Our spirits, our bodies are being resurrected. The love in your hearts will lift you up, and I'll come along and fill your cup. You, though we seem to come from different skies, what is true is the love that shines right through your eyes. 1,000 sunny days describes the joy I feel. I'd walk 1,000,000 miles, 'cause you know we'll see the truth revealed, and we will. Remember, you're always divinely connected. Our spirits, our bodies are being resurrected. The love in your hearts will lift you up, and I'll come along and fill your cup. I am you. Though we seem to come from different skies, what is true is the love that shines right through your eyes.
Woo.
Yay.
Beautiful.
And the background too.
Yeah, I tell you, the backgrounds are so fun to put in. I just got to get rid of the background. Hang on a minute before it repeats itself. This will do. This is nice and real. So thank you for witnessing the premiere of that. And just before we get back to the regular programming, I'm going to share my screen, and everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Humanities Team, and our other streaming partners, including Alan Seinfeld's YouTube channel, just, I think we can do it. Let me get this. This will take you straight to a free download of that song, full quality version. It expires in 2 days, but this is a gift to Facebook and YouTube and all of our streaming partners. So grab your camera, take a photo, and after the show, go and download your free I Am You song, a gift from the Global Peace Tribe to the world, which is awakening. So there we go. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Omar Shah. And we'll leave it up for another 30 seconds so people have time to grab the cameras. I just grabbed my camera. It worked just fine.
Perfect. It's brilliant. This is actually through WeTransfer. And it's great. They give you a QR code and da-da-da. I thought, what a brilliant way to share things. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off.
Thank you. Let's talk about Big Twinkle and lots of love.
Thank
to
you,
our
brother.
beloved Omar Shah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to read a few comments that have come in from our peeps. And I invite JJ, Desiree, Steve, and Alan. I'll take this in. And also, John Martin is with us. So, John, I'm going to include you in the panel in a moment, the Q&A. But there's some good questions and comments that have come in. Scotty Satori, of course, is pointing out that, we heard about Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who, of course, works closely with JJ and Desiree. I interviewed him way back in the 90s. And he started IONS, and so we appreciate that. Ayada, by the way, is appreciating very much Omar Shar's song, as a lot of people are actually. Okay, here are some of the comments. I'm going past all the wonderful comments about Omar Shar. Dr. Laura says, can you feel the excitement? We are on the very verge of connection to our star brothers and sisters. I'm so excited. I've seen so many UFOs in my life, hundreds of them, and always a longing in my heart to meet them, talk to them, hug, send love through my heart to them. Yahi, I am excited. So thank you, Dr. Laura. Alan is pointing out that there are Keys of Enoch study groups all across the country, because George was saying we should start a study group for that. So I agree, George.
Yeah, maybe the Hertogs can put the links to those study groups in the chat.
Well, yeah, there are different study groups. So really, bottom line, maybe go onto our website. There's a free web talks all the time about different things. And then if you're in a local area, just let us know by email, and we'll tell you if there's a local group in your area.
Well, since you mentioned that, if you go to the website and you'll see where it says Web Talks, just click it and this takes you. So the next Web Talk free is going to be on Sunday, September 7th.
But you can go down and there's actually 2 or 3 other ones. So this is also additional ongoing class study. These are all free, actually, on Keys of Enoch, on the Over Self-Awakening. I think they're just about to finish that book. And on the Pistis Sophia. Those are our main books. And so there's more. And they may be doing some things on our 400 series that Dr.
Let me say this. The Keys of Enoch came out in the early 70s. I was told to wait some 40 years because there would have to be an understanding of planetary changes before the overall blueprint of the keys would be understood. So
there were 64 keys and 54 in the book that you've been showing. And now Dr. Deg did the additional 10 in the last 10 years.
So there's 10 new books of the Keys of Enoch, 10 books.
Wow.
Additional chapters. It's not new. It's additional chapters.
But what is of interest here is these books are highly illustrated. So again, the understanding of the keys requires what I will call sacred geometry, sacred music, and the language of color. The shifting from the left hemisphere of the analytical to the right hemisphere, which is the musical, the multidimensional, and the feminine. So when we work with the keys, we are encouraged really to work with pictures, because pictures in color convey that which we've suppressed, we've lost, and that the color pictures really provide the roadmap.
But I'd like to, because Steve is here to talk more about maybe the alien intentions, because the big question is, in a certain sense, I think some of the questions up there were, how come they haven't landed, are they anxious for us to come forward, or are we waiting for them? What's really going on? And we do think that there's a variety of scenarios, but interesting, Paulina Luna went and talked on Joe Rogan about the ancient book of Enoch. Now, the book of Enoch says that in the past, that means like Atlantis or prior to, that there was abductions of women on the planet and giants were created. So since the flood, which in our opinion, and we'd love to do this with you, Scott, in the future, gets us back to our original genetic code that allows for a higher soul system, that actually now, in a certain sense, we are somewhat protected. So the negative forces can't just land and do their own thing. There is a hierarchy now managing some of the intelligence. And we feel, and I love to hear Steve's feedback, I know it's not his repertoire though, to the fact that they're watching what we do. And I would say in the next did someone say, you're going to talk about that, Alan, 2027, the next maybe 2 years, to see if we can, survive or push the button or whatever.
Positively assimilate.
Yeah, and if we push the button, they may step in at that point for other reasons, but otherwise they're waiting for us to kind of evolve and come into a higher understanding with them.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I just don't have that kind of access.
Yeah, I know you don't talk about it, but it was a lot of the questions that were.
But some people have said the phenomena is what controls the shots, or it's not the government. It's up to whoever those beings are. Is that, do you find that to be
I
true?
don't know how they know that. All I can do is to consider what we know pretty much for sure, right? And what we know for sure is that they have not landed on the White House lawn. There's a whole list of things they could do that they haven't done, right? So why is that? Well, you'd have to ask them. But one of the some of the most important information about extraterrestrials is essentially not available to really the academic, political community, maybe even journalists, and that is the contactees. Because the contact phenomena is essentially more than the people that run this country and the academics who study and what have you, is more than they can handle. They can't deal with it. And so it has had to be deferred. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It doesn't mean that it's not being written about. It's not being they're not coming forward. There's hundreds of thousands of contactee reports that have accumulated in the files of researchers, hundreds of thousands. But you're not going to be able to get legislation in the Congress and hearings in the Congress by convincing members of Congress that contactees are real and that's happening. So that's just, and they, even if they know it's true, they just can't go there. So it's been sitting off to the side. However, I'm not limited in considering it, and neither is any of the researchers in the field, neither are you. And if once you go there, once you start reading about what is actually taking place between humans and ETs, what they're being told, the questions they ask, there's a lot of information there, a huge amount of information that's just not allowed into the discussion, and won't be until after disclosure. So what are some of the things that we know from that? Well, we know that they bring you back. We know that they sometimes show compassion. We know that they're doing a hybrid program, which is a pretty significant thing. We know that they frequently tell the contactees, because I don't know, they're asked or they just feel like it, where they're from. And they do not say they're from other dimensions. I have never read any account of a contactees, whether it's direct memory or regressed memory, where the ETs tell them they're from another dimension. They always say they're from another star.
You can't always trust what the ETs say, because they were telling people they were from Mars and Venus in the 50s, and now they're telling they're from Theta Reticuli. So maybe we just weren't ready to hear the interdimensional answer.
And I also have to say that I think when people say they're interdimensional, it's more the fact that they come through walls. Well, if they were 3rd or 4th dimensional, they wouldn't be able to come through walls, and their ships can be here and then disappear. So it's not like they're saying, I think many of them are 5th dimensional beings. I wouldn't say they're 8th dimensional beings, but 5th dimensional, they can play with that aspect, which we can't at this point. I like to say one other thing that and again, there's a variety, and I think that's the hard part. I say that's one of the reasons for non-disclosure, is because it's not a simple them and us. It's them and them and them and them. So, they all have agendas. But one of the things I like to say is they are anti-nuclear, especially the good guys. Right. And Alan was just recently with Robert Saleh.
Yeah, Robert.
Who was at Maelstrom Air Force Base?
The first to testify that nuclear warheads were shut down by a UFO over Maelstrom Air Force Base, 1967. He's gone on record to say that. There was a congressional hearing where that was put on record. So
no, that's not happened.
No, I thought in Gallagher, when he did that, it was put into the record in. All right. Anyway, it's
one. Well, never mind. Go ahead.
All right. No, but the big question. Go ahead, Deb. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
was going to add the fact one of the things is the Bentwaters case, and that was seen over 3 days. Many people saw it, and we talked with Larry Warren. Even though people have that in question, he said that there were clearly lights that were over a particular place on the base, and that was secret nuclear missiles in silos, and they also were neutralized, according to Larry Warren.
And that information was not known. I was on the stage with him and the British expert Dick Pope, and that cost Larry Warren his passport. He had to surrender his passport because he released information that was not to be known publicly at that time. So it's a much bigger story than who's on first base. It's
Right.
who's controlling the big show of all of the bases.
Let me just move the conversation a little bit forward, and something that Steve's been working for 30 years. What if and when disclosure takes place, what is the fundamental change, everyone, Steve, JJ, Desiree, John Martin, that we see in the world? How is that? What's the immediate impact of whoever's the disclosure president coming forward? Okay, Steve, what do you think the immediate impact for the society is?
Asked that question many times. All right, first, it'll be the biggest event in human history.
Right.
It's coming at a time when virtually, with few exceptions, every single person can actually watch if they want to. That total number of people that will be watching press conferences and other presentations will number in the billions, because this is an absolute universal compelling thing. All right. That's a big deal right there. And so you're going to have individuals or heads of state that are going to be giving some press conference in the audience, assuming they can rig up all the feeds when they can. Billions of people are going to be hearing this. There's going to be a massive demand for information, millions of questions. The press will be apoplectic practically. It will be somewhat chaotic because everybody's going to want to know everything all at once. That's not the way it's going to go. So that's the initial thing. That's just kind of very mechanical. But what will start happening after immediately after disclosure, the formal disclosure, the capital D, that's what I'm interested in. People have all kinds of definition of disclosure. I'm only interested in one, and that's the confirmation from a head of state.
Right.
Is that everybody's worldview will start changing, whether they want to or not. Right. This piece of information is not trivial. And as that starts to sink in, they're going to start to think about the world a little bit differently. Some will very quickly advance in that area. Others, it'll be very subtle. And this, Danny Sheehan certainly talks about this at length. I try to. This change has the potential to take us where we have to go to avoid the calamity that we seem to inevitably face, this worldview change. And one of the ways I describe it is dropping a panel, one of these beautiful films where you slow motion drop a pebble into absolutely still water. And what happens is these big waves come out in all directions, and then they just go out and slowly they dissipate. This will be the opposite of that, right? It's not really physically possible, but you drop the pebble into that still pond, call that the human race, and it starts out with tiny little waves in all directions. But as time goes by, they get higher and higher and higher as the worldview change starts to take hold and manifest, and then the research and the understanding grows, and all those things come out of that. And so that where we'll be 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10, 12, 20 years post-disclosure, Lord knows where we'll be, but it will be a place quite different than where we are now. That is the best way I could describe the most profound event in human history and what happens next.
Well, JJ's been at this since the 70s or earlier. JJ, what's your opinion?
I agree with Steve. I think the drama when Ronald Reagan went to the United Nations and he gave the scenario of how countries could come together when the ET presence was fully understood as a threat rather than as a hope. I would like to feel this will be a situation of a hope rather than a threat. I mean, that would be the ideal situation. But there will be adaptions of all philosophies and particularly theologies to the fact that there is a universal side to the fact that we are one of many evolutions. We are one of many archetypal systems of spiritual self-realization. And the hope would be that there would be a follow-through program engineered now going forward that would give us the sociology and psychology of positive thinking and fellowship. Networking through fellowship, through new science and spiritual philosophy that is universal will give people an opportunity to raise their consciousness and ride out the waves, or balance as a type of surfing on the order of magnitude that we're going to face as a planetary population.
Right. So Reagan really suggested that facing a common extraterrestrial challenge could set aside global differences and foster cooperation. So this is something that he believed. You know why he believed that? Because when he was in Bakersfield, when he was governor, he saw something flying from Bakersfield to Southern California. And my friend's mother actually was Lucy Obal. She was at the party where he was going to as a fundraising. And he talked to all the party people that were there, including Shirley MacLaine, about what he had seen, that he had seen a UFO. So he was very aware of that.
Well, let's bring John Martin into the conversation because Steve mentioned contactees. John is contacted almost daily. He talked to Jimmy Carter about the situation. So, John, this is a vindication for you and your lifestyle. What do you think will be the revelations that come to the consciousness of people after disclosure?
Alan, when I began playing my guitar and projecting into the universe and projecting positive thought and love deep into the universe, the craft started coming in. And I think other people are going to experience this. And when you see these incredible craft, the first one was a purple plasma craft with a pink ring around the bottom third of the bell, sitting about 20 feet over my house. And Karen came out and we watched it together. A few weeks later, a cross and crescent shaped metallic craft the size of office buildings came over my home. And when you see these incredible, absolutely otherworldly UFOs, and you know that the feeling is so beautiful, and they want the best for us. They make beautiful heart-shaped clouds. And I think when the public actually gets to experience this for themselves, it is going to be, as Steve said, it's going to be a change like nothing we've ever seen before. And I'm definitely looking forward to that day.
Yeah, it's sort of unimaginable because we're not there. We're looking at the unknown, but I think we have to welcome in the unknown instead of holding on to some past fabricated reality. Reality expands in unimaginable ways, and it will activate our greater intelligence to know we're part of a vaster cosmos where life is not an anomaly. It is an essence of creation. Steve, you wanted to jump in there?
Let's talk about Reagan. This is a famous moment. He did it more than once, brought it up a number of times. It was kind of related to the SDI program, which they had tried to get going and so forth. A lot of pushback. Scientists weren't happy. But think about it. Of course, this is back then. All right. He helped ultimately bring around the end of the Cold War. Cold War I didn't last too long. Now we're in Cold War II. But what he's saying is this. He's relying on the standard operating procedure of the human race, which goes back thousands and thousands of years. If there was an external threat to the entire globe, then the countries and the peoples of the world with different religions and ethnicities and politics and skin color and everything else would come together to deal with this threat. In other words, what can bring us together is abject fear.
Well,
now,
Well, I would also go back to what Edgar Mitchell saw and the overview effect. When you look at us from space, he saw all one humanity. So
Right.
I agree that it can be the negative, or it can also be the positive when we see ourselves as a species on this
But
planet.
John Martin just talked about how beautiful the experience is. This, right, John? There's no fear. You're coming from a place of pure love in this contact experience, right?
You know, and exactly, Alan. And I had dinner with President Carter in Toledo, Spain, and he told me about his UFO experience in the 60s. He was in South Georgia and about to give a speech to a Lions Club.
Yeah.
And this is a nuclear captain.
This is, yeah.
I mean, he knows the skies, he knows constellations, he knows other phenomena in the sky, and he saw a golden energy that came to him and then receded. And I filmed. You'll see if we have time. I've got a video. I've filmed thousands of these, and I've got craft, and I've got a beautiful higher dimensional being coming through a portal. There's some pictures in the video I have for tonight. All of this is available to us.
So
And,
how do we go,
this
John,
is a
from
single story. This is just me. Everybody, they curate the experience for each person. And when people realize that they don't have to wait for the government, you don't have to wait for disclosure. Every day is an opportunity for you to interact in a meaningful way with the universe and our star family, and it will change your life in beautiful, wonderful ways. And that's my message.
Y'all didn't let me finish because I think you're assuming that I was trying to make the fear case.
Oh, yeah.
Let's let Steve finish.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Yeah.
I think back then, in that circumstance, the time, think about it. That's the way you would go, right? In other words, we just need to have a common fear and we'll get together. Now you can see how that's not particularly an effective way to go about it, because now everybody's scared. ETs are the threat. We're all going to get together. We really don't like each other. We still hate each other. There's still plenty, but we'll overcome that and get together. There's two problems with that. That won't last very long, right? Eventually, we'll be fighting again because we've been doing it for thousands of years. And then there's the fact that this thing that's now the threat to us, there is no way to deal with that threat. We're done. The extraterrestrials can do away with us like that. It wouldn't even be difficult. There is nothing we could do against a true extraterrestrial threat. So the whole idea was fundamentally flawed, but so appropriate for the time. And so what we've been trying to do, and a lot of very nice people have been working at it as best we can, to try to give an alternative outcome, an alternative situation here, because there is enough known about what ETs do and don't do, and from contactees and other things I've mentioned, turning off nuclear weapons, right? To know that no, they're not really a threat, anything like he is saying, right? But they are a profound influence. And that ultimately, the reason we must finally confirm this truth to us so that everybody understands this is part of the reality of the world, all right, is there are a lot of extremely positive aspects in a post-disclosure world, right? Meaning that there's technology that suddenly is going to be available we desperately need that's been sequestered. There's going to be an opportunity for people to now to talk and discuss and engage. What does it mean to have these entities? What does it mean that there are other entities out there? The Catholic Church talks about how they'll baptize them. All of it. This is all pretty positive stuff. It's not extremely one way or the other, right? Are they a threat? No. And if they are a threat, well, wrap it up, folks. Put your affairs in order because it's over. All right. But if they are not a threat, whatever they are, then is what we will learn about, what we need to know about. And that is complicated. You know, the old simple, we come together for a threat, makes for a good speech, a good line. And I'm not criticizing Ronald Reagan, but I assure you, that's kindergarten level analysis, right? We're now very sophisticated in the public arena about this, but that sophistication has been achieved through enormous time and effort and sacrifice. 90% of it wasn't even needed. but the government decided to embargo this and stretch it out for 80 years. And one of the tragedies that the historians will talk about, with 2020 hindsight, down the line, 50, 60, 80, 100 years from now, is they're going to say, what a tragic thing happened there. What do I mean by that? This is an important point. During that period, from by the time we dropped the nuclear weapons and we have the Roswell event, right in there, right about that period, the population of the planet was about 3 billion people. 80 years go by and the population is 8.3 billion people. 5.3 more billion people, well, are now than then, but it's worse than that because the number of people that actually were born into the world since that time going forward is another 5 billion. And so during that 80 years, 13 billion people entered this world with the need for clothing and shelter and food, and water and air and everything else. They needed that stuff and it wasn't available. We needed desperately technological innovations that would transcend this incredible population increase. We didn't have it. The government kept it from us and spent trillions of dollars on what? War and defense and all that other stuff. We didn't have a chance to examine the way we conduct our world affairs, which is endless war, endless destruction, in the light of the knowledge of and the worldview of that we're not alone. They denied that to us. And as a result, the amount of human suffering that has taken place in the last 80 years literally transcends all of the human suffering prior to that. And because you live in a nice place or you got a nice condo or you live in America, you may not really be fully aware of it. But if you start to look at it, and there are people that are doing that, what was the circumstance for the lives of the 12 billion people that turned up in this world, and maybe still in this world, from the time of Roswell? And let me tell you, it is awful. And that is a tragedy. And they will ask us, why were you thinking? Right? Didn't you understand that if you're going to have a population increase, you need every aspect of technology, right? And then, of course, we've also suppressed and put forward the possibility of directly engaging the ETs. It's very possible if we disclosed in 1947, which Truman could have done. Hell, we could have been hanging out with ETs for the last 60 years. All of these things were erased by that policy. Let me be clear. Truth embargo policy instituted, whatever the rationale, and there's some very interesting reasons, was one of the most calamitous decisions ever made by any government or any leader in the history of this entire planet. It transcends it all. And not enough, well, let me put it this way. My job has been from the beginning to pound that in. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a contactee. Okay. I'm not a philosopher. I'm an activist. And what the activists do is relentlessly pound in a point, hopefully, that is valid, that is essential to the dilemma that we face. And that's what I do. And if I'm wrong, I will apologize. But I don't think I'm wrong. And the idea of being overly optimistic on something like this, you cannot be too optimistic. You have to be relentless in that it can be done. We will get there. And if people say, well, just, if it's not, it's not happening, so shut up and go away. Well, then what? Then what? People are going to say, oh, what the hell? Right? No. So we're closing in a point now where the catastrophic potential for still keeping this policy as we approach nuclear war, right? Like somebody driving 100 miles an hour drunk down a highway, the potential disaster is now magnified. And still not quite there, except we are almost there. And if it takes the Epstein scandal to give the proper motivation to the 14th president in this matter since Roswell to finally come out and end it so we can all start moving forward, great. Thank you, Jeffrey. Right? That's something good you did with that awful, pathetic life of yours. And if the people are going to be embarrassed and get sued or go to jail, well, it's a small price to pay.
Right. Scott.
I want to come in. First of all, thank you for being an activist. Being an activist is not a fun job. And it's not usually appreciated until 20 years from now and you're gone. And they go, there's this guy, Steve Bassett. You'll be honored and appreciated, down the line, but not now. So I
Right.
appreciate that. Question. And this is, I'm going to bring her talks on too, and also you, Alan. This is a question to any of you. In your research, in the people that you've spoken to that you trust to be really informed, to what degree are there significant bases underneath Antarctica? Some have said underneath New Mexico. Like, how integrated are our galactic friends into our Earth?
We were part of a South African film on the life and times of Elizabeth Klaar, who was very instrumental in the contact story, resulting in a book called
Beyond the Light Barrier.
Beyond the Light Barrier in the 1950s. She lectured to the British House of Lords, German UFO Society. I had an opportunity to meet with her and talk to the University of Johannesburg years ago in the 1980s. And she said that from her source, the situations of the sun, solar activity, resulted in extraterrestrials who had encamped in what we call the Antarctic region, had to move off to nearby planets.
Right. I mean, I know Steve is talking about Epstein, and that's going to push it. And we're obviously moving closer to disclosure, hopefully in the next few years. But we feel one of the reasons, as I think everyone would agree from the data, like World War II, actually Churchill was one of the first to do the cover up because they had seen things around there. And then, of course, with the Trinity site, there was more and more. And now it seems there is some destabilization. That's what we were trying to hint at in our planetary system, whether it's the climate change, whether it's whatever, whether it's solar flares hitting the outer core of the Earth that's releasing through volcanoes. There's stuff going on. And we think that's why they're also more active at this time, trying to assist all of us. And as Steve was saying, they did hold back the technology that the government got. And we do believe the government's been back engineering technology since probably the 50s, if not the 60s. But according to Dr. Hurtak's experience, also, they're feeding us, like what John's talking about, areas of information and science to also help humanity. Because, you can throw the government out in that sense. Let's move forward ourselves with an understanding of who we are, why we're here, what's the technology we need. So, of course, they have better technology, and people who have tried to have free energy have been, suppressed in that sense. But still, there's a lot of information they are giving to us through consciousness realities and consciousness fields, which I think is preparing us for contact.
So
I
also,
just want to say, JJ, the sightings worldwide seem to have increased, not just in this country, but around the world. I've talked to researchers in China, in Japan, in Korea, of course, in South America. It's wide open. There's no secret.
Mexico.
well, I've been involved in some of the background research on space metals that were retrieved from so-called alleged crash sites. What's needed to be understood here, and this was expressed by the great physicist from UK, Stephen Hawking, he feels that there would be a negative effect upon governments of the world collapsing. And this was echoed in earlier studies done by the Rand Corporation and Battelle Corporation back in the 60s, that humanity would not be prepared to sustain a major shift. So that may have played out amongst the intellectuals involved in the embargo
As to why
scenario.
cover up, yeah.
But nonetheless, in the age of Steven Spielberg, in the age of the internet, in the age of very intelligent, young, and interested youth throughout the world, people can be told the truth, and the Santa Claus story can be updated. People can realize that there are genuine life forms in space that share with us the same genetic background. I'm putting myself out there, suggesting there's more to the story, but there's enough that brings us together into harmony, then into separation, rivalry in the same old situation of being involved with tribal warfare, which was the view of John Mack and others that I work with.
Stan Freeman.
I mean, why share information with a society that wants to play war games rather than the intelligence to follow the
Well, I think they're
intelligence.
waiting for us to wake up, JJ. And of course, you know, I think some people, no matter how much we talk about it, are in for a rude awakening. What? We're not alone in the universe. It means because people identify with a very limited framework. This is what Danny Sheehan talks about, worldviews, and John Mack. We are on the verge of expanding our worldview. This is why Steve Bassett's so important for going out there talking about it, and why we brought up presidents tonight. It's in the zeitgeist of the consciousness, like Dr. Laura said. It's an exciting moment in history where the world will finally wake up to our cosmic isolation that we've imposed on each other and realize we're part of something much larger and much more exciting. And the experience of reality will expand for us. We'll break out of this limited box that we're all in, this little Zoom room boxes, into a bigger playground of possibilities.
And I think that's why there's 8 billion people on the planet, because many people came here for this time, this reconnection to our cosmic family. And also, though, we do have to, call to the attention. They're not all the same. They're not all us. There is the reptilians. There is the insectoids. There is the, others, the grays, for example. So it's complex. It's not so easy, but I do think we're prepared now. And I think Steve agrees. Of course, he thinks we've been prepared for 50, 80 years.
But the bottom line is this is the last generation of humanity as we know it.
Yeah.
This is the last generation of humanity as we know it.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to move us forward only because we've got a little more, but I want to go to the wonderful website that Steve Bassett is very involved with. And this is the paradigmresearchgroup.org, paradigmresearchgroup.org. So putting out a call to any of you who got involved in Bitcoin early on or have a big trust fund, and you're wondering, okay, there's money that I've got that I'm blessed with. What should I do with it? Supporting activism is a very good thing to do. And you can support Steve Bassett and paradigmresearchgroup.org. There's a lot of interesting things here. So I want to invite everybody to really go check out his website. And Steve, is there any particular place you want to make sure that we point out to people?
Well, there's because I anticipated what was happening, I think I saw where things are going. I made the decision about 8-9 months ago to convert PRG into a nonprofit, which it is now, 501c3 nonprofit based in DC. Prior to that, it was a sole proprietor, and there was a reason for that. May have been a mistake, but that's the way I had to do it. So now I can accept tax deductible donations, and that's important because if things go to where I think they're going, boy, you in order to play ball, in order to continue to be effective and involved, you've got to have resources. And so I'm not going to. Again, I miss crypto, and I'm not going to get a second job. So hopefully I can get some funding. Once I clear 20,000 more funding, I'm going to set the date for the 7th X Conference 2025. That's up on the site. And it will be in DC. It will be at the National Press Club. And I think it could be quite special given all the circumstances. So X Conference 2026, rather, not 2025, be 26 would be next year. But I cannot set a date and begin the process unless I can secure the site. And that's going to require 20,000. It's just the way it is. But there's other things. I mean, the more the support I get, the more I can do. But I'm not the only organization that has been formed, heavy duty organizations, high level people that are forming that are almost all 501c3s. And why? Because I'm not the only person that sees what's coming. They know that disclosure is coming. Mm-hmm. And so the Soul Foundation, the UAP Disclosure Fund, the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, which I co-founded with Dan Harari, there's so many. And the New Paradigm Institute, right. The State of the World Forum is now a 501c3. The site is up. There's going to be a major event later this year at State of the World Forum, similar to the ones that were held 30 some years ago. Those were massive. Gorbachev came, a lot of heads of state, whatever. All of this, and there are people there that are much more. They have stronger backgrounds and tremendous credentials and connections, and they're getting funding. They're going to get millions ultimately. I'm a small operation, always have been. I'm an activist. Sometimes that you're going to be an activist, you kind of be that way. But I hope to be able to do what I can do. But there's more coming. Organizations are going to be forming. Plans are already being made. Even corporations are probably having meetings right now where they're talking about how they're going to create their extraterrestrial division. Think tanks like the Enterprise Institute and Cato and the Center for American Progress are already thinking about how they're going to set up their post-disclosure division. They're not stupid people. Believe me, the rich people in this country, the major businessmen, you think they didn't know there was an ET presence? You don't think there's 10,000 people that'll take them aside and tell them? The more wealthy you are, the more powerful you are, the more people want to tell you these things. That doesn't mean they're going to do anything. They realize that they need to sit tight on that. But now the lid's about to come off, and you're going to see things forming like crazy. And if someone is not getting support, if someone is not making the effort to reach out, they're going to fall by the wayside. And that's the way it is, kind of the survival of the fittest. But I have one thing going for me. 30 years in trade, know a lot about what's going on, have a history, and I'm a pure activist. There are a limited number of those. But I ask people to support all these entities. Do a research, just do a Google on UAP disclosure organizations. They're happening so fast, I can't even keep up with it. So it's coming, it's inevitable. And that's the message that the White House needs to understand. End of this truth embargo is inevitable. The explosion of the Epstein scandal is inevitable. The White House has an opportunity to use this circumstance to mitigate their very, very big problem.
Yeah.
In other words, let's make the first thing happen. Let's be part of disclosure. Let's literally be the disclosure administration, the disclosure president, because we still have that opportunity. Putin could take it away tomorrow. Some other head of state could do it tomorrow, and then our president will be second, and second ain't going to cut it.
Right.
It ain't going to cut it. But if he goes first, then obviously there are benefits that are substantial. And this is a complex message, and this is history happening at a level that is hard for me to imagine. And so when you're talking about history at this level, it's not simple or like, oh, I do this, do that. And it's not easy to get it, not easy to understand it. But let me tell you, history happens whether you get it or not. These moments in history of this magnitude come along once in a while. And some people get it and they're able to deal with it. And many cannot understand, and they simply have to go with the tide. They go with the flow or they're washed away. This is one of the biggest opportunities, if not the biggest, for people to be part of something so huge. They'll be talking about it for thousands of years. They may not remember your name, though they probably will, given everybody's got a presence on the internet, and that's all going to be stored. But you have a chance to be in something this big. And the government has gone to enormous lengths to prevent you from being part of this, or at least prevent you from triggering or being part of the historical event itself. And this is something that has to stop, right? And so I'm saying let's lead. Let the president lead, and I think there's going to be a lot of benefits for all. And so this is it's a very interesting situation in which a force majeure has emerged. It's been around, but suddenly it has thrust itself forward into the public domain. It is a force majeure, unlike anything that I have done or the other people in this field, Richard Dolan and all the wonderful people that have come forward. They don't have the power of this force majeure in terms of a presidential decision. I could scream at the White House for 100 years. It's going to make any difference, right? We've had so many things happening, but this is something else, and it's weird.
I think you've laid it out. You've laid it out beautifully, and as it happens, I know that most of us would go, "Wow, that's what Steve Bassett predicted," and I think you're right. And as you talk about all the corporations that are jumping on this and getting ready, I'm picturing Mattel Toy Company and a new line of action figures that includes activist Steve Bassett and the Keys of Enoch authors, J.J. and Desiree Herzog, and the author of Making Contact, Ellen Steinfeld. all little action figures, in the unfolding of this incredible making contact moment in our history. We are going to move forward. We're going to take a quick look at a 3-minute video from Alan Steinfeld with our friend Daryl Anka, and then we're going to watch a John Martin video, and then we're going to do a little bit of our evening prayer. One of our beloved members of our community passed away this week that we want to acknowledge. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Alan, to introduce your video.
Well, okay. Daryl Anka, people know him as the vehicle for Bashar. He's had this relationship with an extraterrestrial for, I think, over 30 something years. So he is getting, if you believe that, direct contact from the source, and this being is talking to him. So it's a little bit outside the practical applications we've been talking about here. So it's about what can happen when the ETs start to come forward, or what he's been getting from Bashar to talk about how this is going to happen. So I just want to show this here. He is, do you see that on your screen, Scott?
I sure do. I see San Diego, the event.
Oh yeah, he's coming to this event in San Diego, but I asked him, this is a big event that's happening. Daryl's going to be speaking, and it'll be a lot that's in 27. I saw you recently with the shirt that says 2027, the year everything changed. So what's happening?
I do believe that in a couple of years, and this is not only Bashar's prediction, it's a prediction from other psychics as well that have tapped into this. It does appear that in about 2027, we will actually be introduced openly to extraterrestrials. We will know they exist. And so it's the changes that happen from that point forward that we're really talking about. Is now that we know openly that such things are real and such beings exist, and that they're going to interact more openly with our society, what does that change in all of the different categories of human endeavor, and what do those changes look like, and how quickly do they occur, or how slowly do they occur, depending on what those human categories are. So the idea may be that there will be phases to this contact. Let's say, for example, they might suddenly just park their ships out over the ocean or something like that, where we can see them, and they might stay there long enough where we can get over our excitement and our confusion and our surprise at seeing them, and get used to the fact that the ships are there for maybe a long period of time. That could last months. Mm-hmm. And then maybe we start going, okay, they're here. So just the idea of being able to calm down and settle down by being exposed to a ship hovering over the ocean in plain sight of hundreds of thousands of people and nothing happening gets us used to the fact that someone is standing there waiting for us to calm down and get used to their presence. That can go a long way toward then the next step being able to land and stand and step out of the ship and say, yeah, here we are. So they could do this in phases to get us used to the idea that they're here. I'm not saying that open contact would suddenly be a major, shock in the sense of, oh yeah, now you just have to get used to the fact that you're standing 2 feet away from a Pleiadian. No, they'll do it in a way that allows us the opportunity to absorb it, at least to some degree, before they openly introduce themselves, because that wouldn't serve any purpose for us to go into psychological panic and then try to have contact. So they'll ease us into it in some way, shape, or form. That's my, religion and politics and economics and sociology and psychology and all of that. So it's just that I think 2027 will be the catalyst, the beginning of that change, because it'll be relatively undeniable from that point forward that ETs do exist, because they will be openly introducing themselves to our society. And so for some people it'll be like a given. Yeah, sure, we knew they were always there. For some people it'll be surprise. So it just depends on how quickly someone can absorb all of the change that's going to happen with that introduction. So, but to me, that's kind of the beginning of it. That's the starting point of the change, is 2027. Wow. That's the reason why I want to do the class, is to provide more of this information so that they have something that they can grab onto.
Right. He's doing a class at the San Diego retreat about as himself, talking about what is needed for our awareness to meet the others. So it's a little bit different angle. We have the offense and the defense. The defense is the government. The offense is the phenomena. So we're looking at both sides, and we'll see. Any comment on that, John Martin, that clip from you?
I so agree with that. I think there's going to be a lot of planning from our star family, and when you raise your own frequencies and you meet theirs, they meet you halfway, and it's going to be an amazing event. And that makes sense for them to be, parked off a mile or two away for months on end. I'm sure they've done these same kind of techniques on other for other civilizations as well. That seems very reasonable to me.
The movie Arrival, that's kind of how they do it. And it's a beautiful movie, by the way, a beautiful movie. I tend to think that that's like how the ETs would do it, but the guy in the White House is the great disruptor, and I would not be surprised, especially with what Steve shared about the connection between needing to cover and create a diversion because of the Epstein files. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Go ahead, Steve.
Steve.
Yeah. I'm kind of tickled a little bit about how this is playing out. It's interesting. I don't have any psychic powers, zero. I have negative psychic powers. But for years, going back, you can go back and check my interviews, going way back, you go back 10, 15 years. In a nuts and bolts way, the way I have talked about this is that disclosure is inevitable. It's going to happen. All right. And that's a big deal. I think it's the biggest event in human history. Okay, so that information starts to go out all over the world, helped by the fact that we have built the most incredible, massive global communication system you could ever imagine. It's overwhelming. It's incredible. And that's great. Very convenient if you have something that needs to spread around the world and stay there. Okay. And what I have said, based on a simple, straightforward assessment, is that once disclosure happens, the world then begins a learning curve in which everybody that cares or wants to is going to want to know about this. They're going to learn about this, formal, informal, whatever. And you're just going to have a learning curve that slowly elevates the sum total of the human understanding of this issue, right? Varying from person to person. But in a certain amount of time, pretty much everybody on the planet is going to understand it's real, it's true. And they're going to know a certain amount and what have you, and have a certain level of interest. I think that's about 2 years. And I've always said that, about 2 years, what it'll take for that to just kind of manifest. Think of it as like in one of those community colleges. It's a 2-year community college course, after which everybody gets a degree in ET presence. And when you're at that point, then full out open contact, right, will be an anticlimactic. It would be like, oh, you mean there's ships here? Well, great. We were wondering when they were going to show up. Not as destructive, not disruptive, appropriate, responsible, whatever. And I've always thought 2 years is about the right amount. And so with disclosure, I think really hanging now right there at something the president could grasp anytime he wants, 2 years from now is 2027. What can I say? Right? I'm loving this.
You're a prophet, Steve, but also... No, I just want to say about this discussion tonight, Scott, it's been quite holistic. We get the real nuts and bolts from Steve. We get the esoterics from the Hurtak. We get the contactees, and we get the possibilities of ETs actually coming through from Daryl and saying this might happen, but it's also our shift that needs to happen in the human beings, in us, to be open. This is why the Hurtaks talk about higher consciousness and extraterrestrial. Yeah, JJ, please.
Well said, Alan. What our emphasis is on the vibratory nature within ourselves. It will lift us up, give us the continual inspiration, the inner dynamic. And this is why Desiree and I have embarked the last 30-some years in a musical diplomacy with Carlos Santana and other musical greats to bring a positive contact story. If you look at the historic sources, be they from India, the indigenous populations, or even the biblical, the real contact story is always with the music of the angelic.
And you see that in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that da 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 da. I mean,
And
there's
that was a real
reason for that.
story.
That's
I
not-
worked behind the scenes with those who were involved in that. If the story of though was more of a mechanistic music, we're speaking of music from the heart. And this is prelude to the little meditation we're going to do now, if Scott
Well,
wishes us.
But
John
you should
Martin
you
first.
should also see what John, stick around for John Martin too, and of
He's
course.
gonna
Omar
be, I think he's gonna be next, and then we'll do the.
But
Yeah,
information by itself
Shah-
is not
music from the
sufficient.
heart. I just want to say, JJ, John Martin is. And
So
so is
here-
Information by itself is not sufficient. You need positive vibrations continually through your body. Whether this is a type of metaphysical yoga or this is a type of cosmic music, whether this is a biblical sense of charismatic awareness, all of the great traditions of the mystics, the great thinkers, the great philosophers had a mainstream of musical meditation. This is so important.
And we're emanating those energies, and those beings, and there's a variety of them, are picking up on our energies and reaching out to them, and they reach out to us. And we even, like Alan said, go from even the extraterrestrial to the extra celestial, which are more like soul guides, to the ultra terrestrial, which are even higher levels. But vibrations, thought, and music being part of it is
Brings us
key.
all together. The exoteric, the esoteric, the scientific, the spiritual. All of this is grounded in the shape of the human body, which is a musical instrument.
So that's a
Full agreement,
beautiful
absolutely.
segue to the John Martin video we're about to watch.
right.
Because when I'm watching John's videos and he's playing music and he's talking to his friends, this is, for me, the most positive modeling of what we all can do. I mean, first of all, wouldn't it be wonderful if we spoke to our wife or our mother or our kids or the people we work with the same level of love that you're about to hear from John talking to his galactic family? That's a modeling. And what you're saying about music and the vibration is really, really true. So, John, is there anything you'd like to say about the video that you put together for us tonight?
Yeah, Scott, this is just some highlights from the last few years. I make it a daily practice to go out and interact with our star family. When I'm outside walking my dog, I speak with our star family. I know that they hear me, and I can feel their beautiful energies, and I go to my little park next door. All of these videos were filmed basically in the same, either my courtyard or the little park next door. And I've got different cameras. I even have a drone sitting at 200 feet, and one of the craft go right over the top of the drone. And that beautiful entity came out of a portal. It was Easter Monday, 2019. I was able to get a few pictures for that. So I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much, John.
It's never random, is it, dear friends? Wow. I mean, that's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Spectacular. That isn't there. It's a ship. Oh. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. That's just great. Thank you, lovely friends. Wow. Hey, lovely ones. Hey. Wow. Look how bright and beautiful. Hey, my friends. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my sweet, dear, beautiful friends. Hey. That was wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. So good to see you tonight. Thank you, beautiful ones. Look at that. Perfect. Thank you, friends. Thank you, beautiful ones. Thank you, my dear friends. That was great. Thank you. So awesome. So great. Thank you, beautiful friends. Very wonderful. Thank you. You lovely ones. Hey, hey, sweet friends. Oh, how beautiful. Hey, my wonderful friends. Happy Peace Day, dear ones. Thank you. Thank you, my lovely friends. Thank you for coming to see me tonight. So wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, lovely ones. Thank you, beautiful friends. Thank you, lovely ones. Thank you, my sweet dear friends. That is so great. Thank you. Whoa, what was that? Right there. Let's see, friend. Wow. Beautiful. There, my friends. Fantastic. Gorgeous. There's a craft, for sure. Thank you, beautiful ones. My gracious, that's beautiful. Wow. Lovely. Thank you, beautiful ones. My goodness. That was fantastic.
Wow. Wow.
Come here, Bo. You'll notice one of these goes directly in front of an airplane. I really consider these as a demonstration as much as it is an encounter. much closer. You do that. There's another one right there. There's a plane behind it. Hey, friends. Wow. Hey, beautiful one. It's just truly amazing. Wow. Hey there. That is so cool. I mean, you can't be a few hundred feet. I wouldn't take it all. Hey, friends. Gorgeous bugs. Wow. So cool, friends. So cool indeed. Thank you. Hey, my dear friend. Wow, gorgeous. Hey, sweet friend. Beautiful. Hey, loveliest. Hey, my dear ones. How gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful, dear friends. Fantastic. This was Easter Monday 2019. This was a higher dimensional being that came through a portal. You can see the portal off to the right there. And these are the aeroglyphs. They're different creations that they've made with clouds. There's hawks there with them as well.
Wow. Wow.
Another hawk there. This one turned into this. And that's right above the picnic table where I project to the universe. That was above my house.
Hmm.
That's very cool. Wow. I was totally dragging energy and massively cool. And I think that's what they were trying to say. Sorry. Get out of here, the light's about to hit.
Being kind of patient to talk while this is really
This was
cool.
on
Thank you
another
guys. Thank you.
Making
guys.
contact
Thank you
show,
guys.
Scott. That easy, absolutely. I mean, that's how you do it, Cinco. You project the best of yourself, whatever that is, to the universe. Just and the universe is so ready and open and loving and excited when we've made the effort to reach out and speak to them. You know, it's just a gorgeous interchange. And, you know, the experience is a two-way experience. You know, they send love to me, I send love to them, and we just have an absolutely glorious time. And it's so much fun, and I so highly recommend it.
It's beautiful. Well, John, thank you. It's so beautiful. You remind me of the many nights I've spent with my daughter out speaking to the stars, and they respond straight away because they can feel the heart of the child, the cosmic child in each one of us. So a real great blessing to sit in your music and also feel the wonders of how the cosmos responds. I really feel that.
And I can feel your frequency, Altair, and you are aligned beautifully with the universe. And that's what happens is you're just naturally aligned with something that's so inspiring and so beautiful and so important and so loving and giving. And it's so amazing, really.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. John, it's just always such a joy to watch your videos and listen to the beautiful ways that you speak to them. There is a question Dr. Laura is asking, what kind of camera and tripod do you use for your videos so that you can follow the craft fairly well without shaking?
Yeah, I have a Psionics camera, and I have a Sony A7S III and a Luna Optics, but mostly it's the Psionics. The Psionics is good, but it only has a 750 DPI, and so I invested in the Sony A7S III, which is 4K, and it's a low light camera, so that's a really great one to use, and it's got stabilization built into it. And then the camera, the one up in the air, was actually the camera from the drone at 200 feet. And that one, it's impossible for it to look up. So, you know, that energy that came over was only probably 20 or 30 feet above it at that time. So, and it took me over a year of trying to get that one on the camera. So that was a good one, I thought.
John, there's so many wonderful comments coming in. People appreciating. One person says, after meeting John on your show, I started answering texts and emails by saying, hello, sweet friend.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. And Scotty Satori says, instead of the butterfly effect, we have the John Martin effect.
And Scott, what I would say, it just to give everyone just a snapshot of what they can do themselves, go outside, introduce yourself. I do it all the time. And you just introduce yourself to the universe and have conversations with the universe, and you will see that the universe will answer back in beautiful ways. And when you start doing that, it develops and just blossoms into what I would imagine would just be an infinite number of interactions, far beyond anything that I'm doing. And so if I can be an inspiration for others to try it themselves, that would be a success for me, I think.
Beautiful. Well, John, please make sure you read all the comments. There are at least 15 comments in the chat box now of people appreciating you and how you just opened their hearts. Thank you very much.
I will do that. Thank you, Scott, for being who you are.
We're going to stay in an open-hearted space because there are passages in our world. And in a moment, I'm going to ask JJ to lead a prayer, and he does such beautiful harmonics. But we lost a very dear friend. As most of you know, the Global Peace Tribe was founded by myself and Deborah Giusti back in April of 2020. And as long as I've known Deborah, her best friend has been this beautiful man, Jeffrey Edelheit. And Jeffrey collapsed a few days ago and had organ failure and did not survive. I love that picture of him with his dog lover that I am. Deborah has set up a love vigil that's been going on at her Energy Wave Center in Sebastopol. Jeffrey was quite a pillar in the Sebastopol community. So again, I'm going to go back to this picture, and let's just all send Jeffrey love. He was one of those men who just supported everyone, provided love, support. Every time I was on the phone with him, it was because he was offering some advice to the Global Peace Tribe, or to Deborah, or to myself. He was truly a giver, and no doubt will be a new angel supporting us in wonderful ways. So, JJ, I'm turning it over to you for a moment.
Yes, we turn our eyes to the stars. We offer up prayers for our beloved brother, Jeffrey Edelheit, whose name means really the region of the jewel that glows. We offer our prayer, our mantra also for the souls of children in Gaza and Ukraine,
Mhm.
And also in Sudan, who are leaving us by great numbers, we asked divine intervention to bring peace, joy, and realignment with our assignment.
Yes, let us put the energy of peace, love, and light throughout the planet. This is really what our brothers and sisters in the heavens also want us to do, to send forth radiations of love, seeing the dove of peace, changing ourselves from that of beings who are angry to beings who have the energy to transform anger into love, joy, and happiness. Let us feel that energy soaring around the globe.
And we're going to use two mantras to celebrate the call into ascension. The first will be from the Aramaic Hebrew. That will be the trumpet call for the gathering of the tribes, of everyone who has the light, crossing all boundaries, all restrictions. And the second will be from the Sanskrit. They'll be for the world harmonic as we go through this major change that will change everything, everything, everything. And so I'm going to lead you in the first mantra. Feel light up your spine. Feel your lips like a trumpet. Feel each of the 7 seals or chakras like small trumpets. And then as we say this mantra, Ami Shaddai, which means people of God, think of the networking of the light workers throughout the world, people of all backgrounds who suddenly realize they have this pulse of music and light that is now to shine, shine, shine in the world of political change, political possibility, but more social reality. As we are calling upon the gathering of the tribes, the 12 divisions of humanity, to each of us as the tribe of peace. I'm going to intone this 7 times. If you wish to join, I'm going to make this subtone because of the electronics, the problems of sound that is accelerating through electronics sometimes does not reach as far as it should. Ami Shaddai, Ami Shaddai, Ami Shaddai, Ami Shaddai, Ami Shaddai, Ami Shaddai, Ami Shaddai. As the trumpet is heard in the inner ear, we realize the temple, the tabernacle within us, is indeed the tabernacle of musical vibration, is the trumpet of gathering, joyous networking, and the realization that all of us together with our voices are the temple of understanding. No longer are there the temples of division, the churches of theology. No, it's the call of divine spirit, the Holy Spirit, that brings us into this temple of understanding. And that is the tempest. And that is the call of what is coming from the higher worlds above, the region of the Shamayim, the heavens and glory of God. As we look throughout the world, as we understand our role amongst the peoples of Asia, China, India, across the regions of Central Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas, we also call upon the ancient Sanskrit that speaks so much of the vibration of Om, the vibration of the Mother Earth, the vibration of the heart, the vibration of body, mind, and spirit is known as Shanti 3 times. And then the vocal bowl again of the Om vibration as the new world emerges with the cosmic others.
And let us feel the vibrations. Let us each one sing together with this. And also let us see Jeffrey's soul ascending into the stars and even beyond as we sing.
7 times. Om Shanti 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 Om. Om Shanti 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 Om. Om Shanti 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 Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May the peace of God, the spark of life from the stars above, reside within our hearts, our human tabernacle. In the quickening of spirits, and those who are called into the higher world of ongoing creation, may we be co-creators in humility and divine service, and may always call upon the names of the divine for solidarity, for unity, for the gathering of the tribes. But this is the reason it was given from above. In the coming of contact, there was always the music of the spheres. Amen. 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 And amen.
Thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure to be on your program.
Well, thank you both. And I know we've got many wonderful programs we'll be doing together down the line and these incredible transformational times. Thank you. I want to bring Steve Bassett on. And Alan, we are going to play the Danny Sheehan video, but I know some of you may be, it's East Coast, super tired, so you guys might be taking off. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, John. Thank you, JJ and Desiree. Thank you very, very much.
We're on the East Coast. We're going to sign out. Peace to all of you.
Yeah, but watch Danny. He's great.
A really great show, Scott, because it's very holistic. It hit all the points that the phenomena is concerned with: the personal, the political, the economic, the spiritual. So, and bring John in with the music. It's what people need to know about the phenomena and the intricacies and the complexity at how it hits the human population. And Steve, I appreciate you at it, and the Hertogs and everyone here. It's not just an obsession with us. It is something that's pushing the human race forward.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Scott, for your time.
Thank you, everybody. God bless you all.
Yes.
And we still have a really important video from Danny Sheehan. And I'm going to play that, and then we'll close with an Om Bashar song. Danny Sheehan, to me, is like the great unsung hero. This man has been at the... Oh, you know what? Before Alan leaves, we may have already lost him. I want to let everybody know about a really cool event that's going to be happening, which I'm planning on going down for now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm going to come down for it. And Om Bashar will be there playing.
Right.
An amazing group of people. About 2/3 of these people have been on The Awakening World at one time or another, but they're all going to be together on a boat. And imagine a sunset dinner cruise with all these incredible people. 2 days happening September 27 and 28 down in the San Diego area in Mission Bay. An incredible conference.
And
Daryl Anka is going to be teaching as himself from the 30 years of experience on metaphysics and the science of soul incarnation. Sarah Brexman Cosme talk about her past life, and Ann Tucker is predicting from her angels the light activation that's coming to the planet. So this is a really all-star cast. Thank you for bringing that up. And go to SedonaTranscendenceRetreats.com. Scott,
actually, Alan, I just got given a discount code by Suzanne.
Good.
For anybody for the Global Peace Tribe or watching on YouTube or Facebook, there's a 25% discount. That's really generous.
Wow.
I've just popped it in the chat here.
Thank you.
But it's actually, for those watching on our streaming partners, it's Soul Search 25 with both the S's as capital, the rest are lowercase. Soul Search 25.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting you, Om Bashar and Scott. I'm glad you're going to be there. It's going to be fantastic.
And we are now looking at the next Monday, on that Monday night, with the support of our beloved brother Mark Danisovsky, who I just put on camera. We're going to do a concert. Mark Omashar, you want to share with people a little bit about what's going to happen on Monday night, the 29th?
Over to you, Mark.
We don't have many opportunities to see Omashar in his full glory unless you go to these conferences, and a lot of times people can't travel. So since he's going to be in town, I'm the musical director at Vision Center for Spiritual Living in San Diego. So the Monday after that conference, we're going to do a concert at Vision, and we have really extremely high quality live streaming. So we're going to be doing a live streaming concert, and also people in the San Diego or Los Angeles area or whoever want to attend can come to Vision Center for Spiritual Living. There'll be more details as we go along here. We just kind of finalize this, but the seas are parting and the plane is landing, and I think this is going to be a great event. So
thank you, Mark. You rock, brother.
That's good.
Promote it at the conference. I'm emceeing the conference. We'll announce it many, many times. So we'll get a lot of people there. And we have a great group in San Diego, Scott, with Tara and a bunch of other people. So
yeah, and Tara was on most of tonight. So I don't know if she's still with us, but
no, she left to look after her child, her kid.
I also want to say back to that post of this woman, Dahlia, was the star of the Psy Games. She has an autistic child named Lidu, but Dahlia was seeing through her blindfold. She was teaching children how to see with higher vision, what she calls mind sight. And she's going to do a demonstration on the main stage in San Diego that is totally worth the price of admission there.
Wow. Really. It's going to be an amazing show. So,
yes.
All right, let's all meet up in San Diego at the end of September. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Omashar. And now we are going to see, it's about a 12-minute video from our good friend Danny Sheehan, who of course is the lawyer who represents the little guy against the big guy. And he represented Daniel Ellsberg during the Pentagon Papers. He represented our indigenous friends at Standing Rock. He goes all the way back to Karen Silkwood, representing her before she was murdered. He's an extraordinary man. And he, of course, is now representing a lot of the whistleblowers, including Lou Elizondo, who are coming forward about UFO disclosure. And this is a special video for us from Danny. He just recorded it 2 days ago, and I received it this morning. So it's hot off the press. Here's our friend, Danny Sheehan.
Good afternoon, gang. This is Danny Sheehan. As you know, probably I'm the president and general counsel for the Romero Institute, which is the 501c3 sponsor of our New Paradigm Institute. I'm here today by video because I'm in flight right now, returning from Austin, Texas, where I've been doing a major podcast interview. And I wanted to be able to give you our quarterly report as members of the Citizens for Disclosure, to give you an update on some 6 specific events that are going to be taking place right in the immediate future. And number one, as you know, the Schumer-Rounds bill that was introduced back in 2023 in the United States Senate and passed the Senate has been reintroduced now by Senator Schumer and Senator Rounds in the United States Senate. This is an extraordinarily important first step that was necessary for us to secure public disclosure of the UFO information. So this is the step 1 that we've succeeded in getting accomplished. Number 2, Congressman Eric Burleson from Missouri has now publicly announced that he has agreed to introduce into the House of Representatives the full 64-page bill once it is passed by the Senate and inserted into the Senate version of the National Defense Authorization Act. This we anticipate taking place in the second week of September. So in the third week of September, Congressman Burleson will be introducing his 64-page bill into the House. And so this is step two. This is extraordinarily important to have gotten this accomplished, to get the House bill to be sponsored by a major Republican. As you know, Congressman Burleson is the lead now on the UFO issue in the House Task Force on Declassification or Disclosure, dealing with the UFO issue. Because as you probably know, Anna Paulina Luna, who is the chair of that task force, has been kind of drawn off to spend mostly her full attention on the Epstein revelations, because the administration has refused to abide by their promise to release all the Epstein information. Okay, so that thirdly, we are all engaged together in a mass mobilization throughout the summer months. We still have the second half of the summer to go here, to reach out to your independent congressperson in your congressional district and to your United States senators, both of them, to get them to vote in the Senate to pass the Schumer-Rounds bill and to insert it into the National Defense Authorization Act Senate version, and to put pressure on your House member to vote for the Burleson bill when it comes in the second week of September, to also have the House vote to include the 64-page bill into the House version of the National Defense Authorization Act. Okay, so that's the number 3 item. That's that item that we are all engaged in right now during the summer months. Fourthly, I want to give you an update on what the schedule looks like as soon as the House members and the senators return from their August break on September 1st, the day after Labor Day. On September 2nd, we are going to be releasing our New Paradigm Institute 20-minute video, which we're going to be sending to you. And we're going to ask that you send this to all of your friends and neighbors and all your contacts, and also have a potential showing at your home of this 20-minute video, so that you can show people what it is that you're working on and who the organization is with whom you're working. That's going to take place on the 2nd of September, immediately after the post-Labor Day return to Washington of the members of Congress. Okay, week 2 of September is going to be the process in which the United States Senate is voting to determine whether to include into the National Defense Authorization Act the Schumer-Rounds Amendment. That will be voted on to be passed, and if passed, or when passed, to go into the National Defense Authorization Act version of the United States Senate. That will be in the second week. In concurrent with that, we're going to be showing a private showing of the Age of Disclosure documentary film that we've gotten an agreement now from the director and producer of the film that has not been publicly released yet, to have a private showing for the members of the United States Senate there in the second week of September, when they will be voting on determining whether to include the 64-page Schumer-Rounds Amendment into the National Defense Authorization Act. In the third week, Congressman Burleson will be introducing his copy of the 64-page Senate bill in the House of Representatives, and concurrently, Andrew Carson, who is the chairman of the House Subcommittee on Counterintelligence, is going to be doing a private showing on the House side of the Age of Disclosure. This is going to be the week that the House of Representatives is going to be deciding whether or not to pass the Burleson version of the Senate bill and to introduce it and insert it into the National Defense Authorization Act. So that's going to be in the third week of September. You see, these are all coming bang, bang, bang. The first week, second week, and third week of September. In the fourth week of September, the House is going to be deciding finally to pass and insert the bill, the 64 pages into the act to put maximum pressure on the executive branches, the 6 United States Defense military services, the 18 intelligence agencies, and the 32 Defense Department agencies that presently are in possession of UFO information and artifacts, to turn those over on September 30th to the National Archives. That is the official date now that is mandated by the Congress, both House and Senate, in the bill passed in 2023, to turn over all of this information to the National Archives. And according to the law, anything older than 25 years of age needs to be publicly released immediately, unless the president himself specifically directs that a particular piece of information be postponed from public revelation, and he will have to provide a written explanation for why that particular piece of information is being withheld or postponed. Okay, so that's that September 30th date. This is going to be coming up. This is going to be an extraordinarily important date, and so we're hoping that we're going to be able to get the Senate to pass the Schumer-Rounds bill and insert it into the National Defense Authorization Act on the Senate side, and get the House of Representatives to pass the Burleson bill and get the 64 pages inserted into the House version of the National Defense Authorization Act prior to September 30th, to put the maximum pressure on these military services and agencies to turn over the information on September 30th, as they're required to do. And if we can get the House and Senate to display their continued resolve to have this done, then that will put maximum pressure on the intelligence agencies and Defense Department agencies and military services to turn this information over. Okay. Then the fifth item is in October. October 20th is our scheduled our Global Disclosure Day. This Global Disclosure Day we had last year on October 20th, and now on October 20th we're going to hold our second Global Disclosure Day. And if in fact we have succeeded in getting the Senate and the House to successfully insert into the National Defense Authorization Act the 64-page amendment, and we have succeeded in getting adequate pressure put on the military services and intelligence agencies to turn over the information that they have on September 30th, we will devote our Global Disclosure Day on October 20th to explaining to the American public and to the world what the import of the information is that has been publicly released on September 30th, and also putting pressure on to try to put pressure on to accelerate the public disclosure of any information that's postponed. Now, if in fact we fail to get Congress, either the Senate or the House, to include the 64-page bill into the National Defense Authorization Act, if they fail to fulfill their constitutional obligation to exercise adequate oversight authority over the intelligence community and defense community, then we are going to be addressing this, and we're going to be mobilizing not only to attack the executive branch for its refusal to comply with the law that's already been passed back in 2023, by talking about the preparation and filing of a Federal Criminal Racketeering Act RICO complaint against them with the United States Justice Department, and the potential launching of a civil lawsuit if the Justice Department does not fully comply and respond to our complaint. And also, if the Congress has failed in its obligation, its constitutional duty to exercise oversight authority over the executive branch, we're going to be mobilizing a major effort potentially in our October 20th Global Disclosure Day to try to challenge every one of the members of the House of Representatives who failed to vote for this bill, to say that if they do not agree to sign a public pledge agreeing to call for the full disclosure of the information, the UFO information, to potentially call upon 501c4 organizations around the country who have the authority to do so, to potentially mount primary challenges to each of those members of the House of Representatives. Now, we're hoping that it doesn't come to that. We're hoping that we're going to succeed in getting both the Congress to fulfill its constitutional obligations to exercise oversight, and we're going to succeed in getting the executive branches to comply with the congressional mandate to turn this information over on September 30th. But as I say, if either the Congress fails to do its duty, or the executive branch agencies refuse to comply with the law as they're constitutionally required to do, then we will have to mount a major operation to call them into account. And we will therefore, sixthly, potentially mount a major effort to get the American public to perceive this reneging on the promise to turn over the UFO information, to co-join that with the refusal on the part of the administration to reveal all of the Epstein information, to generate a similar uprising on the part of the demand for UFO disclosure, to join with the demand for the revelation of the Epstein documents. So that's the briefing. These are the 6 major issues, events that I wanted to give you an update on. I apologize again for not being here in person to be able to answer your questions. I know there's going to be a question and answer period following this, but I wanted to give you a 15-minute update on these particular 6 activities that are.
I see that Steve Bassett is still with us. And Steve, I'm going to put the camera on you for a moment. I'm curious, I mean, you might know all of this that Danny shared, but is there anything you'd like to comment on?
This is a wonderful example about the fact that you've got many organizations pursuing this in different ways. Danny has resources. The New Paradigm Institute started with hundreds of thousands, and he's able to do a whole bunch of things that others can't do. And so all of this he's been down this road before. And so he's able to project a fairly elaborate approach to this. Plus, of course, he has contacts in the Congress, and he's able to get in and meet directly with staff and what have you. So everything he just described is theoretically going to move forward, right? And we'll see. If it passes the Senate, which I think it will, then the real test will be the House. If it passes the House, that would be absolutely huge. But it doesn't, and so all good. And Danny knows I'll help him in any way I can. My office is 2 blocks from the White House, and I'm right in Washington. But it's interesting, if they pass the Disclosure Act in the House and Senate, it goes, and it is the template and the full legislation needed to do it in a responsible way. It's the act, it's the total package. And it's part of that platform I referred to that allows the president to come forward. All right. And so, in a sense, it makes it even better for the president because the reception on the president confirming the ET presence or the non-human presence will be even more substantive, more positive, and so forth. And so, to the extent that a disclosure from our president goes extremely well, that helps to again mitigate this other thing that's happening. And Danny, of course, referred to it. He can't go in at the, he can't, Danny is operating from a place where he can't go and say the things that I can say. He can't be going and talking about how Epstein could be the force majeure that forces the president to take this action in order to mitigate the situation, which he cannot address almost any other way. I can do that, right? I'm basically my own activist. I'm not part of a larger entity, though Danny's on my board. And so I can say those things, and that's great. You have different people that can approach it in different ways, but you can see the connection there. You can see how it's overlapping.
Yeah.
But ultimately, let me be clear: the Disclosure Act would be great. It would help, but we don't have a lot of time. We need to get this done and not have it stretch out for however long the military intelligence complex wants to go with this. And the way I simplify it, just to make it as simple as possible, and the reason why this is so important, the key reasons, is that I concluded long ago that without disclosure, nuclear war is inevitable. Simply inevitable. It's going to happen. But with disclosure, that significantly improves the prospects that we can get past it and not have it happen. It comes down to that, right? It's very simple for me. People, why do you want disclosure? What do you care? I don't want nuclear war. We've been heading that way. So disclosure is I think the door that gets us through, and that makes it a pretty big deal just on a terrestrial basis. It's as simple as that. So yeah, Danny and I, he treats me as like a colleague, God bless him, and I will help him in any way. And don't be surprised. I hope to be able to maybe attend some of those meetings. Screenings. We'll see. I'm always trying to get in. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But anyway, Danny's a legend and still going strong. We're virtually the same age. I think one of the reasons we are is because we have a very incredible purpose in our life.
How old are you, Steve?
I'm about to turn 80.
Wow. God bless you. God bless you. Wow. Yes, KDA, it has been a fabulous show. Thank you so much, Steve, for being with us. I really appreciate you very much. 80! Amazing. All right. Well, it's great to have wonderful colleagues and partners like Danny and Steve. And I'm so grateful for my colleague and partner in this show, our wonderful, beloved Omar Shar. What an amazing show. And the only way we could close a show out like this is with Omar Shar. Take it away, brother.
Your soul on through. Time is what we have. time to think anew. Let inspiration flow. Let inspiration flow.
I love all your songs, but I gotta say that what's my favorite for obvious reasons.
They're all my favorite, and they're kind of brand new every time they're sung. So thank you, dancers. You guys rock. You girls rock. Thank you, and thank you all the guests tonight, Steve and Hertax and John and Alan. Brilliant.
It was a great, great show. Thank you so much, Omar Shar, for all that you bring to us. And thank you for that beautiful gift of your new song. My God.
Oh, that's right. There's, just in case anyone didn't get it, there's a physical link in the
yeah, there it is. There's the physical link.
And anybody who watches the replay of the show, if they have 2 days to download that QR code, and if they really want it, they can communicate with the Global Peace Tribe or even join. What a concept!
What a concept! And I will, when I send out the recording of the show, I'll include that link. I'll try and send that out tomorrow so that the link, people have time. Oh my! All right. Well, it's been quite a show. And again, thank you to all of our amazing presenters and contributors. We have great shows planned for next week. We've got a really eclectic group of people on Wednesday night, and then another Soul Search Saturday night, next Saturday. So please do join us. Have a beautiful evening. Tomorrow's Sunday. Make it a sacred Sunday by choosing to see the divine in all, including yourself. Good night, everybody. I'm going to go to Gallery Review one last time and see all of your beautiful smiling faces. Frode, representing Europe, is with us. I love that.